tired. Joycey, how you doing?
Not bad, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Bit of a late podcast. Was meant to be on the Sunday, but I hinted, just like I did against Dinkerturn on the Monday. But but we're gonna start it now. Bit of a late one, but we will enjoy it nonetheless. And if anything, it's more of an excuse to get drunk than is 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday.
Exactly. It's always a good excuse.
So Joycey, let me know what's been cracking on. Obviously, it's a brand new split. It seems to have gone off without a hitch, really. Obviously, there's been a couple of people banned. There's been a couple of teams that have dropped out. But you've managed to find replacements in the teams. And obviously, every team's kind of doing okay at the moment. Doesn't seem like anyone's about to drop out at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, from our side of things, we think things have gone all right. Don't know. You guys don't seem like the meltdown that we have every week. We're like, oh, this is not working. Oh shit, we need to get this sorted. And who's streaming? No caster. Like, all you guys obviously is like the end side of it, where things have been fixed as soon as possible. But yeah. I think the newest meme on the block is your PC is controlled by Glenn. Last week.
So there's obviously a lot of things to talk about, and the way I want to start it is first off, is a continuation from the last podcast. Did you watch it? I'm assuming you at least caught a little bit of
it. With Agatha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it all.
Yeah, bro.
I watched the uncut stuff afterwards, but I watched the main one.
Yeah, that's all that's really important. So, in that podcast, we spoke a lot about obviously the ban situation, and I think it'd be good for you to get your say on that and explain it from an admin's perspective, because obviously I fall on one extreme side of the curve, and Agatha seem to fall on a very similar side. So we couldn't have too much of a debate about it. But we're in a situation where, I mean, obviously Agatha's situation happened. To obviously recap, he joined the league as someone who just kind of wanted to have fun, knew he was past rank restriction, but played anyway. Then over the year that he was just never caught, he grew a respect for the community and the people inside it. But that was then when he eventually got banned, and it was this permanent, you are now banned forever. He left and then thought, you know what, I do still want to play, and it's like, what are they going to do again? Just ban me? There's kind of no real downside to playing again, so I'm going to join back. And that was when Picklesman, Sons of Capri-Sun arrived, got caught again, and it wasn't until now recently he's joined back as a coach and seems to be doing really well at Claytron's Academy. And we were talking a little bit about that, and about the reasons why people do this kind of thing and how that can affect them in terms of rehabilitating themselves and not doing the same thing again. And obviously you've made the step to change it from permanent to indefinite, and then obviously you want to talk a bit about, but explain that change in the first place. Why did you do that? Because obviously that came after my unban, didn't it?
Yeah, so obviously the terminology that always was used, going back to like CL, I guess, but especially the first early iterations of VL, was just permaban. And whenever you hear like every conversation about like league bans, it's this champ's permaban. It's just the phrase that's always used.
Yeah.
So it kind of just funnels into the whole concept that we just use it. So permaban, okay, somebody breaks the rule, they get permabanned. And so we started looking at what that meant, and I think it was Rock who brought it up, and he was like, "What do we mean by permaban? Because permaban just means you're never going to be unbanned, because permanent ban. But in realistic, like, that's not what it is. Like, that's not what we're doing. We do offer the chance to appeal, and people might think it's super difficult or impossible to, but obviously there's a reason why. But it starts that conversation on indefinite means for however long's needed. Permanent means forever. And so we still use permanent bans, but you haven't seen one yet because there's not been one where it's been needed, so to speak, since we changed.
Yeah.
So to give you an example, let's say you were like super racist in general chat, like
if anyone's going to do that, Joycey, we know out of the two of us who it would be, but continue.
Technical difficulties, young man. But like you get what I'm saying, right? And so you get an indefinite ban. You say you've changed. You say you're reformed. Blah blah blah. Then you come back however long after, and then do it straight away again. That'd probably lead to like a permanent ban, because that's like reoccurring. It's obviously not working. But you won't have seen one of those yet because it's not come to it. So that's where the change was. Indefinite being however long is necessary, permanent being forever. And so this came about with people appealing bans and whatnot. Like quite a few came in at once, and that's where that conversation came from. And you do look at people like Agratar, where originally, and I think he'll be fine with me saying this, like, we DM quite frequently these days, but originally, especially with the Pickleman stuff, he was just being a cock. Like, he was.
Yeah.
And I said this to him in tickets, where I said, had you just come out straight away and gone, like, yeah, you've got me again, like, there's a lot more sympathy for it, I guess, where you can say, right, so, well, there's a reason why he's come back. Why has he come back? But the fact that he obviously hid it for as long as he did, he was like in general chat, and then he came on the other accounts and stuff, and like, I think Chris is growing up. Agratar's real name, Chris. But I think he's growing up quite a lot. I really do.
When you watched the podcast and you heard his reasons for all the different things, obviously that was the main questions I asked, is his reasoning behind what he did, stuff, his motivation. When you listened to that, did you believe everything that he said, or do you believe still part of that was fabricated?
I don't know. I don't like to just call people liars. I feel like at the time, the reasoning might not have been as clear to him as it is now. I think that's a better way of putting it. I don't think he's lying at all. I don't think when he's looking back, he's going, right, what can I say here to make this seem like I want to get away with it?
Yeah.
But I think equally at the time, he probably did get a bit of a kick out of stomping the noobs and being the big man. I think that's quite a natural thing for a lot of the people that Smurf, in that there's extra motives other than the ones that you see. And then him coming back, I do think that he probably thought that it's like the best kind of league for him.
Yeah.
But then again, he could have quite easily gone and played in better leagues and still been competitive, but he chose not to. And so whilst I don't think he's lying, I also think back then the immaturity probably had a little bit to play with it as well.
That's fair. So the penultimate question really to this whole topic is this change from permanent to indefinite, this having its different meaning, this repeal process, this whole conversation about what does rehabilitation mean for VL? What will, Kirez break competitive integrity again? Am I going to try and smurf or sandbag or do the plethora of different things that I might have done in VL history again? At what point do the admins look at these and say, yeah, this is the situation. This is how you'll get unbanned. And obviously, you don't want to reveal the secret for people to lie. But in terms of what you can say and what you can be honest about, well, what point do these words actually mean something and have common ground? Because as far as I'm aware, I'm the only one that's been unbanned, and that was prior to this new system.
There's been a few others. So whilst we don't out and out like announce it or so and so's free, there's been a few cases. So Zeus, I think, is another one that popped straight to mind, where he harboured a Smurf but didn't harbour a Smurf. It was a little bit clouded at the time.
Yeah, it's some of the story.
I think there was a couple of cases at the same time, and he kind of got muddled in with them, and they all got hit with the same kind of ban. And he appealed it. He was like, I didn't really know much about this. And we thought, actually, on the face of it, probably just a one split would be good enough, and that's what he got. And he himself was like very much happy with that. He felt that was appropriate. In terms of your first question, I think it comes down to how much, like, our community is all about growing. It's about who contributes and who does what. So you think about the more popular people in the league, they're the ones that you could DM and say, can you do me this? And they'll do it for you.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever been a doubt. If you need a bit of content, you could DM Ice. He'd come on within a day.
Yeah.
If you need like something looking into, like, again, Ice would do it. So those kind of people in the community are the ones that are always there and looking to try and push it forward. I think the ones that don't are the ones that don't care about it. So I think it's a very easy thing to show remorse, and it's to show like a reformer, because it's how much you put into a league. For example, Agratar could have quite easily have left after we banned Picklesman. Never come back. Never done anything. And he didn't. He stuck around, he coached, he got involved with like whatever he could. He'd ask, can he play in these tournaments or whatever? And he'd try and just stay in the community. Not to try and smurf, not to try and break the rules anymore, but just to be a part of it and to grow it. And so he does a lot on the wiki now that people don't see. He's doing a lot of that kind of stuff. And I think those type of people are the ones that you can say, all right, yeah, that's pretty fair. That I genuinely believe that Agratar is sorry for what he did. I think he has grown up a lot, and I think when the time comes, he probably will be good for getting like an unban, because I think that's the type of person that he's showing that with the reformer,
So
equally, sorry to cut you off. Equally, you look at people like the extreme ones, John Wick, where he just comes back when he gets caught, just unleashes like torrents of abuse, leaves, comes back, does the same thing. And he doesn't care about it. He doesn't care about the community. I think that's like the separation there.
Yeah, I mean, that's clear to most people, right? Even myself on my side, it's at this point, John Wick, you've had your opportunity.
Yeah,
Whereas, even though Aguita's done it twice, you could argue his reasons mean that maybe it's not. So, with what you're saying, and obviously using Aguita as your own example for explaining that, why isn't he banned? And why hasn't there been a
unbanned?
due date? Unbanned, yeah. Why hasn't he been unbanned? Why isn't there been a due date and said, okay, your sentence is no longer indefinite, it's now a split, it's now 2 splits? What's the decision making that needs to be made? Now, I get there's more admins than just yourself. Has it not? I mean, as far as I'm concerned,
I mean, leaks, I guess.
Well, people want to know, so...
Yeah, obviously. So Aguitar came to us a while back and said, kind of, look, he basically wrote out what he said in the podcast in essence.
Yeah.
And we discussed it a lot, and again, this is where these conversations came from about the indefinite thing. And it was like, well, we don't want to just pull the trigger and unban it straight away, because we don't know. Like, yeah, sure, he stuck around, but is he just doing that? Like, he only got banned in, I mean, August is when Pickles Man. He came out about it all about October time, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you look, that's not even a year. When he came, he was like February, March time, I think.
Yeah.
So again, you're talking like a matter of months, and I'm not accusing Aguitar of this, and I genuinely don't believe this is true. But in terms of like setting a precedent, if we'd have done that, what's stopping somebody getting banned, going to coach a team for a couple of months, trying to play in a couple of in-houses, and then say, look, you see I've reformed, unban me.
Yeah.
And so we wanted it to be a suitable length of time where it's long enough where you think, right, that's a punishment, but then equally, it's not too long where it's impossible. And so we said to Aguitar, look, a suitable length of time is the term we used, and he's like, oh, what is that? And we said, well, it'd have to be at least a year. If we're going to do a round number, I mean, you could talk about like January 1st, 2021. That's like a good length of time. That's like a year and 2 months. And like, obviously in real time, that's not a lot of time, but in League of Legends, that's over a season. That's like, well, probably like 4 splits deep or whatever. That's a long time.
I mean, when you think about our history in this league and obviously CL, the previous iteration of it, what, 2 years and 4 months, if that? Obviously, I know you were kind of slightly involved in CL beforehand, before PwC fully joined it, but you weren't really in it, what, 2.5 years, really, if you're looking at the face of it. So, yeah, a year is quite a long time. When you think about how much we've put into it, you think it feels like a fucking lifetime.
And on top of that, like, let's say we have these conversations again with Aguitar in November, and he's stopped coaching, he's stopped being involved, he hasn't messaged in the Discord or been a part of anything for 4 months or since we had this conversation. Then we just say, well, you haven't been around. We just push it on any further. And again, I don't think that's what he's going to do, because I genuinely think he cares about the community. I think those people that do will be the ones that can show that side of them, and those that don't will probably just stay banned until they do.
So I have a feeling this is going to move on to the Dewey conversation, but
yeah,
I don't know why that would have an impact personally. So use Aguitar as an example. Split ends, CLA get promoted, they decide to disband. Maybe Claytrons get demoted. It's not going to happen, but maybe they do. They just disband. Ice wants to join a new team. They don't think they can do a team with Ice. Maybe Chime leaves, or Honest gets banned for toxicity, because you can imagine that happening at some point. But whatever, they disband, and Aguitar's just not in a position to coach, and he's not about. Now we can both say that. First off, he's not now no longer competitively integral to the league. He's still this peak. He's not suddenly diamond. So that reason for being banned in the first place isn't there. You're saying that when he's active, he's productive towards the league. However, the issue is at the moment he's just inactive. However, if you were to unban him, that's incentive for him to be proactive, which is then incentive for him to be beneficial to the league.
But he doesn't have to just be coaching a team to be active as well. Like, him going on your podcast, I think is a huge step in him showing everyone else, like, his true side, like where he's coming from. He might have little interviews when CLA, or if they win their split, it could be, there's in-houses on, he's taking part, or there's Cradden customs on. It's not, like, I'm not saying he has to do all these jobs. What I'm saying is that he needs to show to everyone, including us, but to everyone, that he's not like he's not a scumbag, I guess is the easiest way. I don't really
Yeah.
mean it, but you
No,
get what I'm saying.
I
Like,
know what you mean, but I don't know if that answers the question though.
right.
If he is inactive for 6 months, if he doesn't do anything in VL for 6 months,
Yeah.
why does that stop him, or why does that delay? Because in
Okay.
essence, what you're saying is you've got to do community service,
Yeah.
and that's the conversation itself. And personally, I don't want
Yeah.
to get into it because I'll be called a hypocrite. But what I don't get why that's got to be the case. If it's truly a reformation, because we don't need to be 100% certain that he's going to be better. We can unban him after, say, January 1st. And if he is toxic, if he is bad for the community, well, you've got every excuse to say, we gave you a chance.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so why have we got to continue this, not charade,
Because
but this
if
thing
your
going?
argument is that you're truly changed and you're not gonna try and ruin other people's experience and you're trying to better the league, surely the best evidence in that would just be to show it. And I guess that's kind of the stance that we're taking on that one.
So do you feel like everyone in VL should help the league?
I think everyone who's part of VL helps the league in some way, whether they know it or not. Be it turn up to scrims, be it turn up to game day, be it do content. Like, I think people help more than others, but I think everyone in the league somehow, even if you're liking a Twitter post, helps VL in some way.
So how does Piggledy the Pig from Bob help VL?
Turns up to game days when they're scheduled.
Do
And plays.
you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, Aguata
Well,
can't do that. Do you know what I mean?
no,
Because he's banned. And I get,
but he could show up on the stream and he could talk in the chat. He could clip. He can be on content. He could do whatever he wants. There's a million different ways that people help VL. It's
yeah,
just
but
how they choose to do it.
the difference there is that you're asking him to do something that's out of his way to help VL, and I agree with the niceties of what you're saying. Turning up to game day and playing League of Legends is
Yeah,
helping VL, but people want to do that. That's the only reason they're here. And for most people, it's just to play League of Legends in a team environment. So Piggledy the Pig playing League of Legends and turning up to game days whenever they're scheduled isn't him doing it for VL. It's him doing it for him, and it
yeah.
helps VL. Whereas Aguata's not got something that he can do for him that just as a byproduct helps VL.
Well,
And
then
now
we could
you're asking
argue
him to
that
do
you're
that for
doing
six
content
6 months.
is not for VL, but it's more for you. Like, I know what you're saying. I fully understand. Like, people are only here to play.
Yeah.
But like, so I could name quite a few people that I know don't really enjoy playing anymore, but play because they like the league. I mean, that's
fucking one of them, yeah.
privilege you lose. I get what you say. I really, really do get what you're saying. But like, we don't want to get into a situation where somebody can say, "Oh, I'm really sorry. Can I have a date?" We give them a date or like a certain amount of time, and they just go inactive for 6 months and then just come back and go, right, I'm back. Because surely, if your entire argument is, "I'm not going to break the rules again because I care about the community," that you're going to be in the community. And like, sure, Agratar's going out his way by doing the wiki stuff, maybe, but he enjoys coaching. He said so. He enjoys being part of the teams. All we're really asking him to do is just enjoy himself and being active in that sense.
Right, okay. Let's explain the Dewey situation then. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much you're willing to and how much Dewey would want you to, but I'll explain the situation from my side, which will be completely jigsaw fractured, right? And you can fill in the gaps and explain everything, right?
Yes.
So, from my side, I get a message from Dewey at some point, and he says, "Do you think I should be in VL? Like, do you think I've done anything wrong?" And
Yeah.
it was at a point where Dewey has maybe just been about to try out for CNT, but for like the stream team of Dewey and Dever Chalulu, but that just didn't happen. But it was after that when we had a little fallout. But he asked, I was like, yeah, of course. Like, what's happened? And then I've got Killex in my ear, or Remix, who at the time was an admin, and he was sending me clips. A lot of admins used to leak stuff to me back then, and at the time, he was sending me these clips of Dewey and Rock playing, the placements together, and just Dewey very much like soft in Rock hard in, and it being a combination to make them lose or whatever. And obviously then Rock did all the dodging the placements, whatever that was got leaked later. And then he ended up being banned, and obviously there was a huge thing. And in my head, it's like, what's he really done wrong? yeah, okay, he's better than most people. He's sandbagged. You got to remember, this is at a time where the rule set everybody was sandbagging. I demoted from gold 2 to silver 1 just to be a silver spot. Ruben was a gold 4 player. Lordia was a gold 4 player. Last was a gold 4 player and admitted it that he was going to be, plat player, but he's just staying at gold 4, gold 1, whenever that was. Everyone was in this part of sandbagging. It's impossible to say otherwise. In essence, that's all he's done. And yeah, he's the one that obviously got caught for it. So I suppose there's got to be some kind of reprimand. But that was, in essence, in my opinion, all it was. And there's obviously sometimes it's been a little bit toxic. But so far, Dewey's not done anything that I've not done. He gets drunk and messages in general chat a bunch of gobbledygook. Again, he's not done anything that I've not done. So he then gets to the point where now he is indefinitely banned. And I will speak about Rock a little bit later. And now he's trying to come back into it. And obviously the difference is I'm very active in the community. I've got the second most messages in the entirety of the server, and I wasn't even there for the first 6 months. So there's obviously a difference. But why is Dewey now in a position where, obviously, I want to know what happened in that, obviously, discussion. But why did the ban fall the way it did? Because obviously you were an admin at the time.
Yeah.
And then why is it been handled in this way, not very public, and then what has actually happened that you can release?
Okay, so to clarify, like, the reasons for the ban, I think it's important first off. I want to put it on record, and I feel like probably, like, I don't know, I'm tying my own rope here, I guess, in a sense, but I think it's very obvious that certain people in elevated staff positions didn't like Joyre at a certain time.
Yeah.
And whilst I'm not going to name names, I think people can very quickly figure out who I'm kind of like hinting at here.
Remix is definitely one of them. I'll say that out loud.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to lead into next. So to Remix, and I think he'll probably, if he ever comes back, will admit that as well. So when he's sending you clips, I think they're quite selective clips.
Of course they are.
When all this happened, I was on PEX. Rock and Joyre were on PEG. So I had like the inside scoop in a sense that when they were duoing, I know that they were duoing to win. And I mean, Rock running down in mid lane still happens to this day. But
I've seen his stream, mate. I know.
Yeah, like Rock recorded all those games because he knew that he was going to get accused of it from the people that were in the admin team at the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he still got them, but he had like the entire gameplays where you can hear the comms where they're actively calling for plays and they're frustrated and whatnot. And I think Dewey, when in the actual games he played, was like 70 or 80% win, so 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. And so they didn't soften them games. That wasn't the reason.
Okay.
And I think a few people in the community think otherwise. And I want to clarify that as far as I'm aware, 100%, they didn't soft or harden those games.
Right.
Dewey got banned because he found a system that, as far as I'm aware, has been fixed now, and there's like ways of tracking it. But he found a system where if you dodge placement games, you get negative LP, and then if you won, you just clear out the negative LP. So if you dodge enough games, you could be like minus 200 LP, and then when you'd win, you'd not move ranks. You could win 10 games and then just dodge and keep doing it in placements, however long. And so he did it in a way that he got to a certain rank, knew that it'd be impossible to climb higher than requirements, to then he just then played. Yeah. And the reason why I record all the DMs is because Stu is very vocal to Rock about in DMs. And when it brings Rock into it about potentially dodging, is Dewey asked Rock to dodge some of the games from his account. Rock agreed, and then in the same like messages said, "I can't do it." And then Dewey said, "No worries, I can do the last lot myself. It's fine." And then Dewey confirmed that Rock didn't do any of them. But that's where the blurred lines are there.
Okay, I didn't actually know that. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So that's why Dewey got banned in essence. That it was that.
What about that? And I think that needs to be more specific.
Yeah.
He's banned because he broke a rule. He's banned because he found a loophole in Riot system to sandbag.
Yeah. So he was actively avoiding requirements, and he was purposely breaking our rules to do it. Like, he knew, and he admitted that afterwards. Now, there were a lot of discussions. Let me take a little sip. There were a lot of discussions in the ticket the following days. At the time, obviously, it was Nav, who was like the owner of Healer Thieves. Nav was very like, why is this happening? Show us proof, blah blah. And so we asked Rock, look, can we release this? Because obviously we just got it, it was anonymous. Rock was like, okay, but I'm gonna like some abuse here, but whatever. So then we released it to Nav and Joyce. At the time, Sean more than anyone was like very upset, and Sean gave us some abuse, but we just like put him a ticket and said rant here. Nav was like, right, yeah, that's pretty concrete, can't really argue it. And Dewey himself was like, ah, shit, well, you've got me, kind of thing. And then the next day came like the discussions, and it was like, I still remember I'd gone to football with my dad, I'm sat in the pub, and like I'm texting Dewey back because nobody else would do it.
Well, yeah, it was back in the time when Impress was owner and you were the only one that was responding to DMs. Back when you actually did a job. A hyper, yeah.
Yeah.
And you were the only one actually responding to tickets.
Yeah.
Where's that Joycey gone?
I recruited people. I do a lot, actually. Don't give me that.
Carry on.
So Glenn was doing his bot stuff. Trav does his stream stuff. So they didn't answer tickets. Hyper, by his own admission, was like not really around. He was busy doing real stuff. So it was like I was dealing with the tickets.
Yeah.
And I remember messaging Glenn being like, I am at football with my dad here. The only time I'll spend all week with my dad. The only time I'm like enjoying myself. And I'm battling here at this point because Jew is like sending me paragraphs and paragraphs on why he shouldn't be banned.
Well, yeah, he's not stupid. He'll put up a debate, won't he?
Yeah, and it's like, so some of the reason that he was using was, well, if we work out, if I took away all this negative LP, it'd take me up to this rank, which would be just within restrictions, blah, blah. And we end up drawing a line in the sand like 2 days afterwards, basically saying, look, the reason you're banned off of this is because you're actively trying to circumvent rank requirements here. Not that theoretically you get this rank or theoretically you'd be this rank, and you're actively breaking the rules, and it's no better than Smurf in that sense that you're actively breaking that rule. And then
I'm going to interject to maybe solidify your argument moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
The obvious two instances of an exact same thing happening is me demoting to Silver 1 to become a Silver spot, because the rule was what you ended the split on, and then what you were the next split.
Mm-hmm.
Me actively doing that to get Silver 1. Obviously, Impress saw... I literally posted that. It was free to everyone to see. I'm looking for team post, said, I'm currently gold, but I will be Silver by the end of the split. Point in fact. Impress saw that. It was sent to him, and he was like, right, okay, now you're a gold spot. That was my punishment. Whereas, last, another example, he put a very similar thing up, saying that,
I think Last was silly, and I still to this day think Last was silly.
Of course he was silly, but he did...
No, not Last himself, but the punishment. I remember that happening and going reading like the message that got removed and being like, it's like just, that was like almost like if he was not English, that would have got punished because you'd just say that's broken English. And that's what it sounded like.
Because people say he got punished. He didn't. He continued, and then a new league was made for him to go play in. He's banned from Silver and Gold, that he wasn't restricted. He wasn't allowed to play in anyway. But I digress. Me and Last both did things very publicly that was proven and released to circumvent and to beat 3L's restrictions. Exactly the same of what you said about Dewey. Word for word, it applies for me and Last. We did it a different way.
They're both more concrete in that you were gold 4. If you'd not played anymore,
I was gold 2. I was gold 2.
Oh, right. So you'd have been a gold spot, yeah?
Yeah.
And then you demoted for the silver spot. So
yeah,
it's a concrete thing that you were gold. Had you not played or done any action, you'd have been gold.
Yeah.
Then you'd have been silver. The reason why I think Dewey's is different is because you can theoretically say with his win rate percentages, he'd have got platinum whatever.
I couldn't say that we said about Last.
So Last was, I could get higher if I played. Was his wording was essentially trying to say, I'm better than this rank.
Right. Okay.
Which I can say, I'm silver 2, but I'm probably gold 3. That's what I still remember reading Last and thinking, everyone in the league saying like, oh, my macros is diamond level. Like,
yeah.
And that's why I think Last was daft. So I don't think it was him actively saying, I'm not playing to sandbag. He's just saying, if I spammed games, I could probably get a little bit higher.
Right. In my opinion, a lenient way to view it. But obviously, you've seen that message more than I have.
You're saying I'm lenient? Oh my God.
In that instance, yeah. Every other one, maybe not. But yeah, back to the G situation. That's different because there's no concrete. It's saying statistically he probably would have gotten this, and that would have been past rank restriction.
And then I'd also argue it's slightly different to yours, that yours was public, his was very underhanded. I found the system, let's exploit it.
Mine was, I found this system, let's exploit it, and let's boast about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, yours was just playing to like how the league was. Had you just played games and demoted, you wouldn't have been punished for that. Like, I don't
True.
think he
Yeah,
did, but
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have been now.
because like we could all agree that that system was very flawed, but it had its merits in the sense that if you were like negative win rate, can't win, and you were truly playing properly, then you probably deserve to be a silver spot. Obviously, it can be abused, which is why it got changed. But these are the reasons. And then on top of that, like Jew was on his last one, I think at the time, in terms of like his behavior,
Right. Okay.
the things that he'd done. One of the more public ones, which people always jump to, is the racism stuff on stream, and that at the time, I think Dewey had he was told by people that I told them to report it. What that actually was is somebody said this has happened, and I said we'll put it in a ticket because I'm
Yeah.
not doing DMs. And then I showed him all that, and he was like, okay, yeah, that actually makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. So I imagine there
Like,
was some level of vendetta he had and wanted to.
yeah,
Yeah, I can imagine his personality reacting to that. Yeah.
and like I've got nothing against you. Like I think at times he can be a bit of a dick, and I think he agrees that himself. Like we played a couple of games of League the other about a week ago, me, Glenn, and Stuart. Like on a personal level, I've never really had anything against him. I think he can be a bit on his high horse at times,
Yeah.
but I think that's just like who he is, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think we all have flaws in our personality. I don't think you should really judge people for that.
Ouch. But yeah, carry on.
But then equally, like I think if you look objectively at what people do rather than like subjectively, I think you start to like see a pattern of what we do. And like, don't get me wrong, I think there's definitely been inconsistencies over the 2 years. I think what we're trying to do is push it to it's more consistent, for
Right.
better or worse.
So
Whatever.
what people want to know is what happened. Joey made the ticket. He was very public in
Yeah.
saying that he wanted to be unbanned. Now, what's his peak rank at the moment? Like probably high plat 2, I'd imagine.
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. I know that he's in plat, and we were talking that night, and he was like, "I'm hoping to try and get diamond."
Right. So okay. So he's not breaking competitive integrity. Now, 2 out of 3 of the reasons that he's banned is behavioural things,
Yeah.
which, as we've spoken about, can be rehabilitated.
Mm-hmm.
He's been banned for what, 7 months, something like that.
Yes.
Is it over 6?
September.
So it'll be over 7 then. So nearly September's the 9th month, so
yeah,
I can't do
8
maths.
months.
8 months. So it's been 8 months since the ban. He's come back, made it very public. Explain to the detail you can, and obviously people want to know everything. So as much as people would be willing, I imagine there's nothing really to hide, no reason to hide it. But obviously, in case there is, explain what happened, and then explain why.
Is in like when he came back about wanting to be unbanned.
Yeah, about the whole internal ticket situation. What was said? Why was it said?
So to conclude the last one, so when that happened originally, as I said, we drew a line. We said you're banned for this reason. We don't feel like you any remorse about it, whatever. Like that's the punishment right now. That was like then kind of accepted it, and it was done back then. He came back. I want to say probably a month ago now. Like we popped his head up and did his usual "Hi guys," and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And Sarah's like, "Dewey's back," and then he opened a ticket and he's like, "I want to be unbanned. I want to appeal my thing." And he did it very Dewey-esque. He's like, "Hi guys, it's Dewey, aka Joey. I like I like to be not banned now." Like that sort of thing. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Hi Dewey, it's Joycey.
AK Dan.
Do you mean not to appeal your ban?" He's like, "Yeah, I guess that's like." And he typed up like why. Like we had a discussion in staff about what do we think, and then it came up to the idea that again, if we look objectively rather than subjectively, so obviously Rock's involved in this discussion, and Rock was one of the first ones saying, if we look at it, if it was anyone else, how would we treat it? And it was like, well, it's not been long after we'd done the Agratar conversation of, well, if he shows that he wants to be around, and like again, his argument is like the argument of it all is that I'm not breaking rules, which means that he cares the community, therefore, so that's where that line of thought went. The response he got was pretty much the same as Agratar, that if you can show that you have changed and that you're not going to break those rules and whatnot, then yeah. I guess that's more of a liberal way of looking at it.
To a degree. I'd consider myself on the extreme version of Red Bull, so it's hard for me to.
Yeah, well, we all know
to
that
agree.
you want everyone unbanned.
Because I mean, for me, I think it's ludicrous that Aguilar's got to wait 7 months. I think maybe finish this split and one more split, and if he's still around, for God's sake, he's not toxic. That's enough of a commitment for me.
I just want to say that those dates are not like in concrete.
No, I know, but this is my opinion. If he finishes this split, is fairly active for another split, that has shown more level of community service than I ever did. And you could tell it when listening to him, from looking into his face, he can be unbanned. And
so then that takes if we do your dates, that would take you to, so next split starts say mid-August. We go to end of October. Preseason starts, so we don't typically do much in preseason in terms of like splits.
But you say that, he can then look for a team. He can do tryouts.
Yeah. So January 1st is obviously in preseason. So if there's no split ongoing in preseason, much like when Sirez's ban came up this split, or the one gone, that kind of is an October timescale if you think about it in that way.
Yeah, I suppose teams can view it, but you'd need to make that public, and that's that's something you've not always done, is make unbans public. But anyway, so do that. I don't even. That's not even a discussion. Just in my opinion, do it. You've got your own opinion. We don't need to talk about it. But that's my opinion on Aguilar. Whereas it's almost confirmation. Now, Dewey, for me, if I'm being honest, my relationship with Dewey's dead weird, because it's almost like a coin flip of whether this guy's going to like me today or not. But I can understand someone turning around to saying to my own views of the ban situation, of him just resorting to how he was. Of him one day landing tails and just, dropping the M-bomb on Twitch stream. Maybe he just sandbags Plat 1 for a little bit, knowing full well he could get Diamond 4. I don't know. Part of me thinks that there's a chance that could happen. However, it's also been 8 months. And in my opinion, it's been long enough for him to have a chance to prove himself again.
But it would have had he been around, surely.
For your community service example, but for me, I don't think that's even needed. I think all that's needed is time, because when I was banned to when I was unbanned, I didn't have to do any content. I didn't do any content. I barely spoke in general. Probably the least I've spoken in general. Then I was unbanned, and then I did the content because that was what I was meant to do. But I probably wouldn't have done it, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But
I could hear ice typhon in general already.
Yeah. But the thing is, I did nothing in that time. I was more absent than I ever was because I had no reason to be in the league. But obviously, the way that I felt personally, externally from the computer, of just, this is something that I put so much time into. This made me a healthier person mentally. I want to be involved in the community. And that's when I popped up and said, what can be done about this? I don't like the fact it's permanent, whatever it was. I can't remember my exact words. It's screenshotted somewhere. And then I got unbanned, and I've not broken anything since, aside from obviously putting the C word in stream on the drunk stream. But ignoring that stuff. Yeah, ignoring the kind of trivial stuff. I've not done anything since. I've not tried to do anything since. I've competed on this. I mean, nothing's stopping anybody else doing that. Yeah, I mean, I'm one of the most.
I'm not saying you have. I'm just saying, like, as much as anyone's aware, I was like, we are. You haven't yet.
Yeah. In my
But then I also
nothing's stopping no one else doing that.
I'd also say that you're one in a kind, or not one of a kind, but certainly more unique than others in that sense. In that, I think that you're kind of, and don't take this wrong way, I think you're kind of a dog with a lot of bark, and as soon as you tell the dog off, the dog doesn't bark no more. In that sense, like, I don't think you're maliciously aligned. I think you do things, you act out, and I've always said this, and I say it to you in DMs, and I even DM you on a weekly basis saying stop putting stuff in general for attention. I think you say things to, like, try and argument bait, but not in, like, a nasty way. In, like, I want a discussion, I'm going to have a discussion. Women don't have rights, like, during a post.
Out of context, but sure.
Yeah, like, and I think that you got punished. Like, you put a lot more time in than most people into this league. You said it yourself, you have the most posts.
Second
you take that away from you take that away from you, and that hurts you a lot more than some other people.
Yeah.
Where much like with Joyce, he got banned after obviously the initial. I'm really annoyed at this. He just kind of left the league, didn't care, and now he's come back because obviously probably lockdown and uni stuff's like slowed down. And that, if the argument is that we want to see people have changed, we can't say that he's changed because he's come back after that much time and just gone, right, I want to be unbanned. And that still feels like old Joyce, where it's more he deserves it rather than he's earned it.
Yeah, I suppose that's a fair point. Whereas, I suppose the ultimate difference between the two of us is you wanting to see that he's changed, and me wanting to give him a chance to show that he's changed. So
and I think
that's the
it's
ultimate
that balance,
difference.
isn't it?
Yeah, and ultimately, no one's going to agree, and everyone's going to fall on a different line of that. I do want to go off the comments that you said about me though, because I can't let that just slide for free.
And I don't mean it nasty, Dave.
No, I know.
You know I feel a lot of time.
No, I know you don't, and I know we've got a good relationship. You're one of, if not my favourite person in the entirety of VL. But I know, right? But I think I've got to answer. When I put something in VL, it's not me being. It's not. I don't think dog with a lot of bark and wants to get told off or whimper. I don't think it's to that degree.
I didn't mean that in the conversation in general, by the way.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's when I put some. The way I view VL is like a diary, right? The way I'm an analytical thinker, so I've got to try and think through everything, right? And it's easier when that shit's written down. I use Google Sheets for everything, just because it's just when I can see it in front of me, it just helps me realize stuff, right? So later on at night, my brain is doing a lot more thinking. It's a lot less occupied. It's just going through everything that I've thought of throughout the day. Maybe it's when you have more personal conversations with people, where more drama can happen. And VL's I'm not really going to feel any backlash from this. Let's just put it all down. Which is where most of that stuff comes from. And I've got personal views which are unique, and that I'm one of a kind in that way in terms of to the majority of people. But I could back it up if you give me a chance. I'm not getting personally insulted by mods for it, but that's a different conversation for a different time. But the whole thing of me getting banned and whimpering because of it, I wasn't. If anything, I'm the opposite. If you tell me that I can't do something or it's against the rules, there's a little vindictive part of me or a little cheeky part of me which is like, well, I'm going to find a way to beat it because that's just me. It's the thing that makes me know that I'm never going to do it again. And it's the thing I know that I'm never going to cheat. It's exactly the same thing. It's the feeling I got when I felt the repercussions of my actions. That's my issue as a human being, is I don't know the repercussions of actions that I've not done.
Yeah.
So when I feel those repercussions, it's not the getting shouted at, it's the after that bit. It's the 2 weeks later. Yeah, it's the 2 weeks later when it's just like, my life's worse now. Obviously not to the grandiose point of that statement, but that's really where it came from. If my life would just be a lot better if I was in VL.
Yeah.
And to explain the whole cheating point, I didn't cheat. I was kind of with someone, not really with someone. It wasn't official. Slept with somebody else. Immediately regretted it. Spoke to them about it. They went sick. They then slept with someone. Then we weren't talking for a couple of weeks. Then we started talking again, and then the rest is history. But yeah, I didn't technically cheat. But yeah, carry on.
Okay, I'll put it in a different way then, where it's not aimed at you. It's more aimed at me, right? If in real life I get caught speeding,
right,
and the police pulls me over, and he gets me sit in the back of his car, and he takes my name and stuff, and then he says, "Look, you're a really nice person. You've got a clean record. Don't do it again." In my head, I'm not thinking, "Oh my god, I should never speed again." In my head, I'm thinking, this is genuinely me. I'm thinking, if this happens again, I'll probably get away with it again then. And that's how I think, and like that's not a really good thing. That's a really I think it's a really
I think I'm quite similar, yeah.
But I think I'm quite good. I suppose good's the wrong word, but really quite good at finding issues with a system and trying to abuse it.
Yeah.
And I think if I don't get punished, I'll keep doing it. And if the punishment in my head isn't severe enough, I'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a character flaw, right? I'm fully admit it. But that's what I do. Now, the reason why I say Joy more unique is that if that first punishment is even a little bit serious for you, I think that's enough to deter you to do it ever again. Because in your head, right, I've been caught, there's definitely a punishment. And like you said, it's like logical thinking that, right, I'll not do that again. What else can I do? And like, I don't think you're going to not move on to anything else. Like you said, that you're like kind of rebellious. But it's that I don't think that you'd try and smurf again. because you knew that you got caught. And I think
Yeah, no, yeah.
sometimes it's like if we treated everyone like they act like you, it'd be a much easier place because we could easily just say, right, Dave, you've got a week ban off Discord. Don't come back until that week's over. You'd come back and you'd be a better person. I think if we did that with, I don't know, Valkyrie after he's popped off, he'll go away, not think about VL for a week, come back and pop off again. Like,
yeah, okay.
I think there's differences there.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I can't disagree with that. I want to talk a little bit about Rock, and this is in essence a brilliant prelude to Rock and Joey, who are going to be on the bench in the coming week, which is going to be exciting, and I can't wait to hear that interview. The Rock situation. Now, I'm going to say this from my point of view. The start of the split, CNT are going to rebuild because Ben, our top,
I know what's going on.
You know what's coming. Ben's leaving, who was Resurrection, he was our top laner. Only appeared on stream once, but he popped off in all 3 games despite us losing, so people have got a relatively good opinion of him, my IRL friend. I also knew that I was going to drop out because that series was on me a lot, and the team was better off without me. We didn't know whether Simon was coming back, so we were thinking who's going to come. And Rock had been playing in Jet League for us as well. Just filling in sometimes, but he was good friends with everyone on the team. We're like, Rock's our first choice. We really want Rock to join the team. We messaged Rock. He's not banned. We want you to lead the admin team and come play. He's like, yeah, he'd been thinking about it for a while. He does really want to come back and play. His concern that, if he was to come back, people would be like, no, Rock can't play, because that's previously what he had. I mean, the last time we played was on Centurion, and people literally posted these big Google Sheets, particularly from Looney, saying Rock can't play, Rock can't play, Rock can't play. So he's pretty much set to come. I post in general chat, CNT roster announcement number, whatever, Rock to CNT.
We just coordinate when this was as well, just for context.
This was before this split, just after finals, right?
Pub quiz.
Yeah, you are right. You are right. So, we'll explain the whole thing. So, obviously, Rock had been in and around CNT for months.
Yes.
We had spoken about it for months. Not this particularly, it's definitely going to happen, we want this to happen, but about him wanting to play, about us wanting him, about obviously all rating each other as players, obviously except for me, but and then it was the pub quiz that, me and Rock were just finally like, mate, fucking, yeah, you've got your cock out, top banter, we carry on, shave me head, Joycey shaved it, come join, just come play. And in the same afternoon, I think I got Nav to make CNA happen as well, but something along those lines. But no, it was a different time. But yeah, that happened, and then it was pretty much set. We put it in general. Yeah, it was pub quiz. I was drunk, but he had agreed to it. I'd agreed to it. This is going to happen, right? And as far as I'm concerned, he wasn't banned. He is eligible to play under rank restriction, and so he was going to join.
Yeah.
Then the next day, there's more conversation about it. It's like Joycey doesn't want me to leave. I don't know the exact DMs. I'm not even going to look them up to leak them exactly. But it's like Joycey doesn't want me to leave. Yeah. I'm like, wait, what for? No, he really wants me to just take part of the admin team. It's like, yeah, but it's your choice at the end of the day. Like, you're your own person. You can do what you want. He says that it's like people are going to react. It's like, yeah, maybe they will, but like, who cares, man? Fucking hell, look at all the shit I do. I'd end up being banned. No, I'm not allowed to do it. Is the penultimate conclusion to that is I can't play because I am now technically banned. And it sounded to me like a very blackmail situation. Yeah. It sounded like you were desperately trying to think of reasons to get him to stay. And it ended with saying, well, if you leave, we're going to have to ban you. Probably not an indefinite ban, but a ban. In essence, meaning that, Rock, you've got a choice. Do you stay as an admin, or do you quit the admin team, do nothing for a while, and then eventually join CNC? Which, let's be honest, track record says, might not even be a team then. So, explain that situation from your point of view.
Yeah. So, it's important to know, like, Rock probably didn't say this and probably didn't tell you. I don't know how much he wants me to leak, but fuck you, Tim. You annoyed me last night, so lucky lad. So, can you remember the podcast, the one-off, there was meant to be a series, but one-off series of Ice and Impress podcast?
Yeah.
And it was, me and Rock was guests on there.
Yeah, I don't remember watching the whole thing, but yeah.
TLDR, the more juicy gossip stuff were we had Luxar smurfing like scrims, and the final game before we quit the league in RG. Impress was like coaching at the time. He took the high road and like left. I'm not being a part of this because we literally decided we weren't doing it no more, which is what. So that's why that went to that.
That's your team in Red
And
Gaming,
then
yeah?
yeah. And so then the other juicy part of it was basically me being like, when told me that Rock smurfed in VL, and then Rock was like, "Yeah, you knew this." I was like, "No, Tim, definitely didn't know this, mate." And like in DMs afterwards, they're like, "I genuinely didn't know this." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And I don't know if it was like a period of time where I wasn't really too much involved, or I don't know what it was, but I just missed this whole him actual smurfing. And so after that, like, there's a lot of talk about, well, what do we do? So Nix and Nav, I think we're both on the staff team at the time as well. And so Nix was like, what we're doing about this, because some people might kick off. What should we do? Should we put a statement out? And I'm not saying Nix instigated this all. I'm saying that she kind of was like consolidate what we were all like discussing anyway.
I mean, based on conversations I've had with Nav anyway, there's definitely some level of fire there. So continue.
Yeah. So that's another podcast in itself. And so me and Tim had conversations with Glenn as well. Essentially, like an unofficial, not gonna put it on the ban list, but essentially a ban, not on the list. Where Rock said, "I'm never gonna leave the staff team, so the only purpose it'd serve to go back and ban me would be to have to go back and sort everyone's cases out." And I think we talked in CR chat at the time about, do we do this? What do we do? Because do we like open Pandora's box in a sense and go for everyone? And Rock's idea was like, well, I'm not going to play again, so we'll just have it where if I ever leave, I'm just not allowed to play. And so fast forward to the pub quiz night, which is like the first time I heard of it, where he got really drunk, started spamming generals, so I took his rolls off him so I could probation him. And in DMs, he just went to me, he's like, "Fuck you, I'm leaving for Centurion anyway. Fuck you, fuck you." I was like, "All right, go to bed, mate. I'll see you tomorrow." In the morning, he's like, "Can I have my rolls back? I'm really sorry." He's like, "Yeah, I've kind of told Dave that I'm going to join." And I'm like, "We can't, because like what we said, the thing." I was like, "Look, you smurfed in the past. I can't remember the exact DMs, but you get the sense that you're essentially just going to get banned if you start playing." And that's where it comes from, that conversation of what we had previously. And it wasn't me blackmailing him in the sense, it was more like, if I look at this as any other person, which is what I try and do with most things these days, like in VL, how would I react to it? And if it was anyone else, I'd do it. And just because I've known Rock for like 3 years now, and like we're really good friends, like really close friends, it doesn't mean that he deserves to get away with it any more than anyone else. And that's kind of the road I took with it. And it was really scummy, and I felt really bad because, like, if he wants to go and play, surely he should play. But on the other hand, it's not fair that he's ruined people's experiences. Other people have done the same, got punished. He didn't. And then we've had that conversation, and that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
And that's probably the bit that you didn't know. So I can get it. It does seem blackmailing.
Yeah,
I never really put it on public record because I don't really care what people think.
Just for everyone watching, you know this is now going to be a long one because there's still a lot more topics to cover. But let's still talk about this. Obviously, if you need to go, just let me know.
No.
So, you say that just because you've known him for 3 years, you're still going to view it as you should view every other case. And fundamentally, I've really got to disagree with you.
Okay.
Based off the light hypocrisy, not full hypocrisy, but light hypocrisy, it's almost the complete opposite of what you said about the Aguita case compared to Joyre, is that the more you get to know someone, the more they're justified of being unbanned. Now listen, I can understand that Rock's got the personality of when he gets a little bit excited by something, he continues with it. He's a little bit of a rule breaker, he's a little bit of a maverick. It's why we love him. He's a great character. But he's got so much respect for you, for the majority of the admin team, for the league, and to be honest at this point, for the majority of the community. Whether that's reciprocated, I think it's more so than it's ever been, but I still think it is to a degree. I think even when you look at the people who have historically not liked him the most, even they could turn around and have a bit of a soft spot for him. Like Cree, for example, I don't know what was ever there, but it seemed like there was something there. That's a good point. That is a good point. But we've known this guy for so long that means there is that level of respect there.
Yeah.
We know this guy's personality to a point where if he wants to play, if he's within rank restrictions to not break competitive integrity, we know him, like, there's no way he could ever pass a voice check. I mean, I know we've stopped doing the voice checks at the start, which Impress tried to introduce. There's no way this guy could smurf again, realistically, unless it was a brand new Picklesman team, in which case it's not going to last very long. He helps the community. He's doing content. He's been a staff member for X amount of time. You know, he helps try and resolve situations all the time. He, in essence, he sometimes goes against his own beliefs in making sure that people aren't being too toxic in the league. Whereas, you know, Old Rock would be all for it. He's done more than almost anyone who's currently banned. Definitely more than anyone who's currently banned to play. Where's the timescale on this?
I guess that's a conversation to have with Rock. Like, it's not something we ever did discuss because his line of thought was, "I'm never gonna leave. I don't want to." Like, as much as he could probably play now with lockdown, when it comes back to being normal, he doesn't have the time to play. Like, we used to find like really struggle to get scrims and stuff because he'd work till 8 o'clock every night, and then he'd be like university, his girlfriend and such. Like, he does find like struggle to get time. So I don't know if that's just a thing that with lockdown. I don't know, but he just always had, like, when we had that, there was discussions. It were always, "I'm never gonna leave, so let's just make it a pact now." Now, if he turns around tonight and says, or after when this goes live, and messages me and says, "Actually, I do want to go back and play some point," then maybe we just put it on the ban list like everyone else and treat him the same. Right? You've done this amount of stuff. Right? We'll run it till September, October, whatever, and then go look for a team. Like, without having that discussion with Tim, because I think what people don't get about Tim is that he's he's very reasonable. I feel like it hurts me to say that, but he's very reasonable with stuff like that. In that he'll go, "Look, I didn't get punished. I deserve to be punished. This is my punishment. I'll serve this time, then I'll go and play." Like, if he wants to, that's what he'll do. And that's a conversation to obviously to have with the admin team. And if he wants to, then maybe that changes. If you liken it a little bit to like the Dewey thing, where he just opts and left, and like then he comes back when he chooses, that's similar with Rock. That he never really got a punishment. He carried on playing, then became a staff member, and now, I've served my punishment retrospectively.
But he also never got a chance to be punished, whereas Dewey has had a chance to be punished.
And I think
which
Rock
means Rock's
should have been.
also never had a chance to then redeem himself. He's redeemed himself without having to face a punishment, which, if anything, is more than redeeming yourself once having a punishment, because everyone else has a reason to, the motivation to. His is an intrinsic desire within himself to say that I care about this community so much, I'm going to do it despite.
Okay, let's play devil's advocate then. In real life, if somebody murders someone, doesn't get caught, spends a life sentence outside of prison, then gets caught, do we look back and go, because he hasn't killed anyone else, yet he doesn't need a punishment now? Or do we say, actually, he committed a crime, he needs to have a punishment?
This is something that gets brought up a lot. And I'm not going to answer that question with the way you want to answer it.
No, you get what I'm saying.
I've got my own views on this situation, because people say that a lot. A crime is broken within VL by its rule set. A crime is broken in the world by its laws.
Yeah.
They are so misaligned that you cannot.
Of course, yeah.
And I know the point of what you said about just saying murder was just a crime, but it's not that.
I'm all for that. I do that.
What Rock did was steal a fudge from news agents at the age of 14. I put my hands up. I did it on an almost daily basis after school.
Classic trigger.
That doesn't make me. I mean, maybe I am still a big thief, but it doesn't make me a jewel thief. It doesn't make me a bank robber.
No.
There's things that people go through from person. Let's not forget that people who join VL average the ages of 16 to 19 when they first join. Obviously, it's been a few years now. The average has gone up a little bit, and more people have joined that are slightly older. But the average is that age. It's only now that I'm 22 that I'm really thinking I'm starting to become an actual adult, and I'm able to think about things in terms of the long term. So when people are stealing a fudge from the news agents, and they didn't serve, community service at the age of 15, and now they're 30, I'm not going to make them 30. Huh?
Like it rips on.
Oh, is it a stream? Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. Fuck it.
On VL2?
Oh, is it on VL2?
Yeah, okay. Rock's asking us not to say it's fine. We'll keep going. He just put it out afterwards, pal. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's
Just,
a mistake.
just
That legit posted an announcement then, didn't it? No, it didn't.
Ice messaged me and he was like, somebody's entered and it's live on VL. I was like, what is? So I was like, there's an OPN VGR game. I was like, does it mean that's still going? Turn it on and see my bonds. I was like, alright, it's me.
Right, well, it's no worse than
No,
the drunk stream, is it?
I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna look at the chat because I get distracted.
Yeah,
But the point
turn
I'm
the chat off,
making is that whilst he hasn't had a chance to be punished and redeem himself, he still didn't get that initial punishment. And that's sort of where he self-imposed it on that initial pact. And if he comes back and he says, look, this is what we want to go with and I want to play in the future, I'm not saying it's going to be September. It could be like tomorrow. Like, I don't know because it's not just up to me at that point.
Yeah.
And the point I was trying to make about objectively is that I don't want to look at it and go, well, it's Tim, my mate. I really like him. He does a lot of nice things. I'll just let him off. Because I wouldn't do that if that was like someone I don't interact with on a daily basis. Like, I've got Lev in front of me. If Lev was smurfing, and I wouldn't go, right, it's fine, Lev can be unbanned because he did all like the video stuff, you know. And that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to be. I just want it all to be quite more consistent and fair, which is what a lot of people ask for, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that again, that's my difference. Is where if you know
Yeah.
someone on a personal basis, then you know someone on a personal basis, and you can understand something truthfully. But let's move on.
Okay.
Let's talk about really the thing that this was a podcast for. Knowing it, but it's happened now. Just ignore it, forget about it. We'll pretend everyone's in their underwear, Joycey. But let's talk about the reason this is even a podcast in the first place, as well as everything else that has filled an hour. Let's talk about the thing that people are the most interested in: the Tent and Luke ban. Because this was almost VL Riot. Almost.
How much have I got left? Okay, might need to have a break in a second.
Right, we can stop streaming and start recording, then mix it all together later. But
no, I can still talk. I just have to run downstairs and get my
cards. Oh, if it's just that, then we'll continue.
Right, I'll start running down now. If you want to fill the content.
Yeah, I can fill the content. It's what I do.
I'm still on mic.
Yeah.
Still talk.
The Tent and Luke ban was a situation which happened mainly on Trash Talk. It's where the majority of it happened. The majority of it came from. And historically, Trash Talk has always been a thing where it's like, this is external from VL because we're not allowed a Trash Talk channel anymore. We're going to put it on here. And really, despite no ownership or administration of the server, obviously until Silverback became a mod, that was its own entity. VL had a choice of whether they're going to take it into account or not, and some initial comments from Impress when it was made was that it's nothing to do with it. And obviously that was on the more like common streams that people watched and podcasts and stuff, rather than a rule set, which, let's be honest, very few people read, despite ticking the box at the end of the team sign up to say otherwise. So my thought, genuinely, was that this server was obviously looked at, but wasn't ever going to play a factor. But it did play a factor. And then we got to a situation with Tent and Luke. And now, it doesn't take a genius to understand the personalities of Tent and Luke. Not to say the simple people, but the very obvious people. They're alpha males in the internet version of the word. These guys are people that you could imagine going to a club with on a night out, whereas a lot of VL, you can't always imagine that. And they make that known. They are very vocal people. And there was a discussion that happened, and obviously let's do a prelude. The treatment that Luke's had in the community, and I think I disliked Luke more than anyone else has ever disliked Luke in VL. Obviously now I've got just kind of a level of respect for him just because of the longevity and obviously the things that we've said to each other. But the way that was handled wasn't the best, and it almost enabled him to become an easy target. As much as he'd hate to hear that, it almost enabled him to become an easy target within VL just because everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
And then, Tent, he'll always make something funny. He'll try and get people to laugh with the things that he says. Luke will answer back. Tent will answer back. People will answer back. And they'll always try and one-up each other in just a level of what is, in essence, English banter. That's what it is. British banter is that. It's this one-upsmanship of just joking, telling stories, doing insults that are better than your insult, just trying to make each other laugh. And that's really what it is. And based off the things that I've seen, that's kind of what happened. And I know eventually it leaked into VL itself, but from the things that I've seen that the bans happen for, it's been predominantly that. So explain the bans, why the bans, and
Okay,
yeah, we'll go from there.
we'll start with Luke's because it's easier to deal with Luke's. I think out of the two, Luke's is the one that has less opposing arguments. I think people give less opposing arguments because Luke had a lot of warnings for conduct, and it was all very similar. That somebody might say you're not very good at AD carry, and he'd then say accuse them of woman beating, for example.
Yeah.
One that happened. Somebody says, "Oh, don't like your tattoo." He then goes into DMs and says, "You're bare ugly. Just thought I'd tell you. You're like an absolute rat." Blah blah. And he was like, "There's one where like if I say to you, Dave, oh, I don't like your headphones," and then you start insulting my family, there's a level there, right?
Yeah, everyone can agree with that.
So Luke's got a lot of warnings for that kind of stuff. And then this is where it gets right. So we'll come to the trash talk and it being separate and how it impacts and stuff in a minute. But the main rule were always it shouldn't come into VL, and if he does, he gets punished. Luke on that morning or afternoon came in, acted a bunch of people, and basically like what are you fucking saying, blah blah blah, and just started drama.
Yeah.
Got told to stop, didn't stop, got probation. And it was like, well, this guy's got like 5 warnings. Like, he's had 3-day bans and week bans and stuff. He's had game day bans. Well, what do you do like at this point? And so he's like quite a very much systematic, much like Luna, right? He's gonna have to go. So which is what happened. So Luke's a little bit easier to deal with.
Yeah, I think even I'd find it difficult to deal with it.
Yeah.
To argue with that one.
Now, Tense, I just want to like prelude this that people that were involved that night in the ganging up on, I guess is the easiest way, like mob mentality of, right, it's going to be funny if we all start spamming stuff about Luke. That becomes like, that's harassment, right? And it's very nature of it. That's 10 people all harassing one person when they're not even saying anything back. It's not like an argument where people jump on and it's just 6 people arguing over it. It's 10 people saying things about one person for no reason. Like there wasn't even anything that sparked it.
Right.
And then, so those people that were involved got warnings. Like they got, right, this isn't acceptable, you're asking someone, but we're still very much aware that the context of that server, right, that that's what people are going to do to a degree. Maybe it got too much, maybe it was like harassing, but that's why they got warnings, not like actual bans. So that's where we get to so far. Then you get Tent saying, I want to get this exactly right. Is he actually a nonce or what? To which then somebody said read up. So then he read up, saw the comments, then put, "Oi, look, sir, this guy's a nonce. Get your Stanley, mate." Which, for those that aren't English or don't get the reference, is referring to a Stanley knife. Which at that point could be somebody like, "Oh, go and do him in or whatever," as like a joke. And like, I want to also add that what's about to get said, I don't think Tent meant, and I don't think anyone in the community thought he actually meant it. But it's the repercussions of what it does, like what him saying it means. Then after that is like 20 minutes later, "Oh, actually, he's in London. I'll go and pay him a visit." So if we put those comments together, he's saying, "Look, sir, get your knife, let's sort him out," which is him saying, "Go and do it." Now, Lux is not going to do it, so that could be maybe a bit more of a throwaway comment. Him then saying, "I'll go and pay him a visit," becomes a lot more of a personal thing, and like, how much of a line do you give someone before it becomes a threat? Where, right, this guy's posting a lot, I'll go sort him out. And if you put the comments together, he's going to stab him. If you take the comment away, it's still him paying a visit to him. And again, I don't think Tent meant that, like in that way. Like, I guess he does. I'm going to try and say something funny and controversial. The problem with it is I know Tent from listening to like F1 streams and being in F1 calls, and I know the sort of stuff he says. Luke doesn't know Tent. 20 other people in that server don't know Tent. So the only connection between VL, Tent, and Luke between Luke and Tent are that they're in VL. So does it become a case of if your face doesn't fit, you're going to get threatened? And how far does that go? Because all it takes is one psychopath on the internet to go, I'll go pay you a visit, and then do it, that it's like an absolute shit show. And it's like that severity of it. We always said with Trash Talk that if you go in there and say, Triggers 0-7 on Zach, fucking well, get a better jungler, get these trash. You and I be going out the other day, like, we don't care, because it's like children on the playground.
Yeah.
Where it becomes serious is where people are like saying, I'm gonna go and like stab you or I'll burn your house down, like more serious stuff, right? And it's like, if you say that it's not linked in any way, that's like me saying, well, I can go into your DMs and threaten your family, and it's not linked to VL because it's DMs. But the only way we know each other is via VL, and that's the point that we took.
Right. So I understand the logic. There's a clear thought process there of covering your back. But what you're doing there is writing a rule set on a situation, and I think I don't want to say VL's guilty of that because that's saying it's a bad thing, but that is VL's historical view on how to deal with situations. Something's happened, which means something needs to be put in place.
Yeah,
and that's not necessarily a bad thing. However, you do take away from the obviousness of the situation. Yes, Tent and Luke don't know each other. But yes, we do. Yes, most of the people in VL do. At least the active people in VL do.
Yeah.
Even the people that didn't interact with them very much. And I've obviously had the benefit of being able to do so quite a lot through, obviously, CL, Rivals, and now in VL as well. But there's got to be a level of understanding. Now, this ban's indefinite, right? This is an indefinite ban because the severity of death threat in the 2 words without any context, obviously, you could argue perma. But it's indefinite, so okay, that's a little bit lenient. But let's be honest. We know the context behind the conversation. Luke might not have done, but we know the context behind the situation.
That Tent had malicious intent behind it. I genuinely, I don't think he meant he's going to go and visit him, but I think he meant to like put like almost like a scarer out there. Like he knew Luke had seen those messages because Luke's reaction in general, which is why Tent went then and asked in the Trash Talk, like, for more context. He then puts that message in, which is more, if me and you're in an argument and you call me a fat fuck, right?
Right.
That in the heat of the moment, that's not premeditated. To go and read those messages, go back, ask for information, read back, then give it 15 minutes before posting what he posted is more premeditated. And that in itself gives like a justification of there being intent behind it.
This is it does make sense. And this is a conversation which does skirt a line, and I don't want you to be afraid to say what you feel when you're skirting this line. But what did Tent say that to? Did he say that to Luke's personality, Luke's messages, or the comments about Luke?
I'd imagine it was a mixture, given that all the things that he was reading up about were different things that Luke was saying, people being in DMs and all sorts. Oh, before I forget, make a note. I want to go back to Luke's ban for there's something else.
Right, okay. I literally just write it in chat so you remember. But I mean, the reason I asked that question is because let's say you go to jail, right? You're in jail. What's the one thing you don't want to go to jail for and the other inmates know?
I get where you're going with it. So
it's pedophilia. Yeah. Kiddie fiddling is being a nonce.
Yeah.
To the point where, and now people watching won't agree with this, but there is an obvious humour behind that in itself. This whole thing of kiddie fiddlers are going to get beaten up, right? Rapists are going to get beaten up. They're going to get murdered. They're going to get killed. That's a very severe and sensitive topic. But when you think about what most stand-ups do, is they take those conversations and they make it funny. Tent wasn't funny with it. But just because you're a bad comedian doesn't stop the intent behind what you say. And there's
Okay.
got to be a line somewhere, because he didn't say that. He doesn't know Luke. You said that yourself. It wasn't about Luke. No one threatens death to
Had
someone they
he
don't know.
worded it differently, different story. Had he said, "Oh, is he a real nonce?" Then read up and went, "Oh, well, God, like whatever," and then, "Yeah, I think all nonces should be fucking stabbed." That's a different story, because that's not him saying, "I'm going to pay him a visit." He himself makes it a personal thing when he brings it in that context.
Yeah, but you also understand that that's a story.
How so?
This is okay. I'm going to put myself in Tent's shoes. I
Yeah.
imagine they're quite big shoes, but we'll try we'll try our best. He's reading that, and Tent, I imagine he's always rocking his shoulders like this. He's trying to make something happen. He's trying to be a bit jovial. He's trying to have the banter going, because Tent's a funny guy. He's doing this. It's a comment about a nonce. His instant response is, phew, nonces, they get shanked. He's from London. Stanley, shank, knife. The link's
Yeah.
obviously there. This is their humour. This is it's
This
a
is the
street
thing.
humour. It's not a European humour, and I can understand that as being an argument against it, but it's obvious where he's coming from. I'm not
But
from
that's the
London.
thing. It wasn't
Never been.
like an instant comment. It, there was like, I think it's 20 minutes between the comments where he's obviously thought through things, figured out where he's from, then reposted more. As I said, if he'd have just posted the, "Oh, look, so get your Stanley, mate," it's still a different conversation, because it's just, maybe it's just being funny, and it's just the leaving the time, then putting that comment. It just makes it like so much more. If this is some random, I pose a different question to you. Just because we know Tent, should we be lenient? Because if some random joins VL, then joins Trash Talk, and starts like messaging people, "Give me your address, I want to come and stab you," or whatever, do we let them off because it's them trying to be quirky? No, because they're random people. We don't know them.
To answer your question, in my opinion, yes. If we know a
See, I
person's
disagree,
if we know a person's personality, that should be taken into account. If
because
anyone
then,
if anyone else puts the comments that I put in general chat, serious questions are being
okay,
asked.
how many people in general VL, so not using the F1 community,
Yeah.
and not NSK, know Tent, like percent wise, 5-10%?
Anyone who played in original VL split or was involved in CLO rivals, so I'd
Because
say it's a slightly more, 20 to
I
30.
didn't speak to Tent. I didn't know anything of Tent
Oh, did you
until I
not?
started watching F1,
Okay,
and
that's
I
fair
only
enough.
know that because he's like all about the kebab shops and, yeah, come to my shop. Like, I get that it's humor, but that's because I'm in the F1 chats, or I'm on in the calls, whatever. If we're taking just an average person in VL, let's say, I don't know, Charmander nerd, and probably never interacted other than knowing it through Brandon, how does that affect him? Just because one of my really good friends is gay, and maybe you know that, and I put in some homophobic slur as a meme because I say it to him all the time, that doesn't make it okay just because you know that I don't mean it. Because how other people view that is not a good thing. Do you get what I'm saying?
Okay, let me reword the. I get what you're saying. If I say, if I put a message in general chat and I at Simon Ferocious,
Yeah.
and put in incredibly cruel shit. I'm talking about his family, say I want to go kill him, saying, every personal insult I can think under the sun.
Yeah.
Now, this is a different situation where you know me but you don't know him. Now, you can imaginally view that based off knowing me, knowing the fact we're on the same
Mm-hmm.
team, that it's a joke. Would that be your natural thinking, that that's just
So
what that is?
how I deal with that is I'd remove it. I'd message you. I'd be like, just fucking doing DMs or whatever. And I think I've done this in the past to you, or I definitely do it to like Wavy and such, where him and like Cloud and BMing each other. I'm just like, don't do it. People get the wrong idea. And then like, I guess I would. I guess I'd just be like, right, they've been on a team, they've known each other this long. But then if he then reports, obviously we act on it.
That's
But
where context comes in. And
it'd be
where's
the
that
initial
double standard?
removing. Well, so when I was speaking to Luxor about this, about the 10th thing, and he said, go and ask everyone in VL, and if even one person takes offense to it, then you're fine. He was very shocked when I told him that like 4 people took a lot of offense to it, and they reported it. And that in itself, like if one person's even remotely affected by it, then that's one person too many, in my eyes.
That is, you can argue that we come to a political compass kind of question there, where
and
we
then
can
do
alter.
you take offence? Do you give offence? I get that,
because obviously that's my point. Is if you take offence, it's impossible to give offence to someone. I could say everything at you possible, and I'd probably not offend you. Change it to somebody else.
But then if you do that in a public forum, then someone else may take that offence, and I get they're taking the offence, but then you've also got a duty of care to understand that what you're saying and where you're saying it. Had Tent posted that in DMs to Luxor, had he posted it in WSL chat, had he posted it in Centurion chat, I'd argue that that's not a public place. And I think you can argue Trash Talk's not public, but given there's hundreds of people in there, I'd argue differently. And I like, especially given that Luke wasn't in there and still knew about it because obviously people had sent it him. Jeez.
Wrong call.
We don't carry on.
Said that before. Carry on.
So, had it been in Centurion chat, you could argue that that's your place and you're inviting your own people, whereas Trash Talk's a much more publicly available thing. And like, you can go in your Centurion server and say homophobic, racist slurs, and you won't get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
Go and stand in the middle of the street and do it, you'll get arrested. And I get you don't give offence, but it's the duty of care of what you're saying and where you're saying it.
That's a fair argument. It's one of those things where we're not gonna
fully agree. We won't, because it's a different point of view, isn't it?
You've made a fair argument. The final question on this before we talk about the Luke banner and what you want to talk about Wavy, is he legitimately going to now be banned indefinitely? And what's he got to do to be unbanned for what was a fuck up?
Yeah. So we made it clear that the biggest thing in this case is definitely reformation, in that was a one-off comment. There's nothing behind it. It's not going to happen again or whatever. And so we said, look, he's part of the F1 thing that Brandon runs. Like, we call it VLF1, but it's not. It's Brandon's F1, right? We just give Brandon a place to do it in F1.
Yeah.
So he's still part of that. He still plays. He doesn't join the voice calls and such, but he's still in F1. He still plays in their league. And like, people, me and Glenn had a dispute about a dispute about this.
Debate, yeah.
Yeah, because Glenn says, well, he shouldn't be allowed to do any of that. And I said, well, if we tell Brandon that Tent's not allowed to play in the F1 league, Brandon just moves the F1 league to NSK, and all it does is serve to alienate more people being able to enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
So obviously, if Tent is like doing that kind of shit in F1 and he gets reported, then obviously he's further punished or whatever. But it gives him a chance to show himself in that sense. Equally, he's only banned from our Discord, so he can be involved in scrims, he can be involved in coaching, he can be in the streams. As long as it's places where he's not in the Discord, it's not for like behavior, then he can prove it. And I don't think it's going to be something that takes very long to do. But then equally, it sets that precedent that he's having to work towards showing his character. So let's say in a month's time, somebody comes on, threatens you, and we ban them indefinitely, and then goes on to Twitter and spam stuff, and then goes on to on Twitch and spam stuff, and you just show that you haven't changed, and so you don't get unbanned. And I think that's what the Tent thing does. And in the short term, it might feel really shitty, but in the long term, it'll be for the betterment. IMO.
Yeah, that's fair. And ultimately, your owner. So that's kind of what matters.
We'll see after the comments I seem to be making on Callie's shadow play.
Neighbour, am I right?
Technical difficulties.
Oh, we can lie as much as we want. The DVA champ select rule in something we've got written down.
Wait, before you skip.
Yeah, Luke ban Wavy DM.
Yeah. So, also adding into Luke's ban that people don't know is Luke went into Wavy's DMs and were like personally insulting him and stuff. Literally, Wavy didn't post anything. I accidentally gave Wavy a warning, not realizing that Wavy didn't really post anything.
You just read the conversation, so this is to mean let's run and bone.
I'll tell you what it was. Wavy's fucking profile picture was the white, like, shadowy thing, and somebody else had posted, like, had a similar profile, and I was like, oh, that's Wavy, and just skipped on. So I gave him a warning. He was like, why the fuck have I got a warning? And I was like, oh, you think she? He's like, no, I wasn't. So we cleared that up. But yeah, he was sending stuff. Luke was sending stuff to Wavy in his DMs, and he said something like, what's your name? He said Connor. He went, no, you fucking smart ass, your full name. And Connor's like, I'm not going to give it some random on the internet. He's like, well, I'll find it out. Well, so watch yourself. And he's like, the same sort of context with 10 in that I get it's not like but it's still the intent, right?
Yeah.
So that also played into the ban. I forgot to mention that the first time.
No, that's fair. So this DVA champs like building. So what had happened was NSK versus DVA, Div 3. DVA thought that there could be a placement, so they picked the Rammus just as a placement. This is the game, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
That's Vengeance. That's a completely different game.
That's
DVA was something else. Yorick or Garen, and then
Garen. They picked Garen.
And then they either emergency picked Yorick or what? Because there's no auto pick, is there? Or is there?
No.
No, there must be auto pick.
I don't think. Yeah, I guess so.
It's very important that we know, but we'll continue.
Right. So there's definitely misunderstandings, disagreements, and all sorts of this. And Towie did the name it or flame it. I want to say no,
he did the bench with Rock.
The bench with Rock. That's one. And so he put this across in his side of the argument, and I want to put my side across here as well. So what you're getting is from my side, not theirs. And there's going to be a few things where I think this is what's happened, but I'm not 100%. So I will say
you can go to the bench if you need to get the other side of the story.
No, it's just like you'll see when I get there.
Right.
I just want to make sure people get it's just my opinion here on some of this. Right. So I was in a call with a bunch of guys. Silverback, Brandon, Callie. There's like 10 of us in a call. And in like just the general VR call. And we were watching the stream and Garen got locked in and we're like, oh, what is this? Like I say, locked in a top and jungler. Are they taking Garen mid? Are they like, what are they doing? And then we didn't think anything on it and we carried on talking. And then like 20 seconds had passed and then they locked Garen. And then Yorick. And we're like, what are they doing here? And then like another 20 seconds had passed, and then the champ select died. And we were like, no, in fact, I tell you, it was 16 seconds. We still got the screenshot. It's 14 seconds on the timer. And we were like, what's going on here? And then as soon as we were like talking about it, I think it's Cerez jumps up from his coach and stuff, and he's like, can you come down? They're using a proxy. So I was like, what? So I speak to Cerez. He's like, yeah, they're saying that they locked Garen as a proxy. What's happening? And we'd obviously had the Vengeance thing like an hour before where they did Rammus mid. And they locked Rammus and no proxies, etc., etc. And what's funny and what people kind of got confused with at the time is Ma, 1996, was in the Vengeance Twitch chat like, this is a stupid rule, blah, blah, blah. And he's Deja Vu's main coach. Well, at the time, we were like, well, he's just seen this happen. And now he's letting the academy team do plate proxies, blah, blah, but Towie cleared it up that he wasn't involved. They're two separate coaches on the day, and there's no communication.
Yeah.
So just so people aren't wishing
in that much is obvious.
Yeah. So they'd locked in their thing. So I jumped down. They're like, we've been told proxy picks aren't allowed. I was like, they're not. No proxy picks are allowed. And then after all that, they asked me, and Nikki wasn't there at the time. She'd like must have gone, I don't know, she was AFK or whatever. And they said, do we have to play Garen? And I was like, yes. And that's the only thing I gave confirmation to, was do I have to play Garen? Because in my head, they wanted the Yorick. Because if I don't like, so what happened is they didn't have the champion they wanted to pick.
Yeah.
Which I think it's Caitlyn or something, AD carry. Nikki didn't have that champion. And so
for everyone that's drafting versus DVA, by the way, if they've not locked an AD carry and it's third pick, they're not going to pick Caitlyn. Continue.
Awkward when Nikki's not on DVA anymore. So Nikki's not had that champion, right? So it's auto pick. So he must have auto picked. They told me, they said it was auto picked, right? They auto picked the Garen.
I'd assume that's the case, yeah.
They then went on with the draft. They banned champs. They went into the next phase because it was the third pick. And then
just so I know, there is proof of confirmation of a message being sent between DV and
I've
SK.
not seen anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying there hasn't been. Maybe there has. I think Towie said on the bench that he'd sent Byron a message that they wanted to pick. I think it was Caitlyn. Maybe Kai'Sa. Maybe I've lied and it's Kai'Sa. And then whatever it was, NSK banned. So that probably confirms that they didn't see the message. Not saying it's not been sent, but they didn't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important we know that there's proof of the message even being sent. But anyway, continue.
But they said they didn't have the champ, and Nikki didn't tell them till like the last second that it insta-locked. Right? They then did the bans, which is obviously evident what I just said, where NSK banned their champ. They then went into the next pick. The Yorick got locked. 16 seconds later, champ select died. So, if I had an issue with the draft, right, and this goes back to what I said earlier about trying to find loopholes or exploit stuff, and this is probably like awful to put in the public, but it is what it is. If that happened to me, I could have literally instantly quit the champ select, gone, my client just bugged. I tried locking Kaiser, it then locked Garen. We wanted Kaiser. And you could be then.
It's hard to argue with that, isn't it?
Yeah, because the rules say if it's like a client issue, like there'll be obviously there's more leeway or whatever. So if they instantly quit and said we pick Kaiser, if anything other than annoying everyone's stream and delaying the stream, the only thing that serves is for NSK to have more draft time. Because then they go, right, they've got Kaiser, we've got another minute and a half before this gets to that point or whatever. What are we going to pick? That's the only thing it serves. What they then did is they went through. Okay, I want to
stop looking at chat.
You might have to edit that. Rock's gonna kill me. So at that point, right, they carried on the bans. They looked at what they banned. Now, whether this message got sent or not, I don't know. But let's play devil's advocate and say it didn't get sent. They saw the next bans. They saw the champs they didn't want to play against. They saw that they then banned champs. And then it got to a point where they locked another champ before quitting. Now, they say that they didn't lock the Yorick, but like I've got a screenshot shows that they did.
Yeah, there's proof of that, obviously.
Yeah. Let's even say they didn't. That's still an extra minute of information, extra minute of draft time, an extra like the bans. They see all these things happening before quitting. So they quit knowing that there's an issue. But like at what point, like as I just said, if there's an issue and you instantly quit and say, we want Kaiser and then go straight back into it, all that does is give the other team extra time.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, me bringing this up is very hard for me to disagree with because what you're saying is impossible to argue with. And I think anybody watching, other than those directly affected, they'll agree with us and say that if you make a mistake, make it very obvious, or quit the champ select, you wouldn't continue. Yeah. I mean,
there's part two to this as well.
I'll let you say part two before I say my thing, so carry on.
Okay, so I said I jumped down, right? I said, they said, do we have to pick Garen? I said yes. They were like, oh, I mean, it is what it is, bloody blah. At that point, Nikki comes back. Nikki only hears them like saying, oh, that shit, blah, blah. She doesn't know what just got said.
Yeah.
So I know for a fact because then what she then said didn't correlate with what the conversation was. But it was one of those things that, like, I can't be bothered to go through and explain to people that, like, if 6 other people or 4 other people or whatever just heard that, they know. I don't need to explain it.
Yeah.
It's a waste of my time, it's a waste of their time. So I just, like, brush it off. I don't see anything else in terms of confirmation. I said, they said, do I have to play Garen? I said yes. I then leave. Within 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds of me going back into that call, Ceres comes in and says, are they having to play Garen? I said yes. He said, do they have to play Yorick? I said, they've picked it, yes. I just said to you that I thought they meant to have the Yorick.
Yeah, you did say that, yeah.
Right? So Towie says that, and I told him in DMs this, and he said, I don't know. We were pretty certain at the time, but whatever, maybe. So I don't know what they actually thought, whether. But they say that I said they didn't have to pick the Yorick. What I'm saying, you can ask this, there's like 10 people in that call. Why would I 10 seconds later change my mind and say blah blah, when obviously all the stress, all the redoing the lobbies and everything, all the aggro is going to be on me, who's just done in that, right?
I will say the answer to that question is very obvious. Is that Ceres has jumped into your chat twice and bothered you and become the initiator? That's the obvious answer to that question.
But then I could just easily say to Ceres, no. If I said no
you
to
could.
Them, I'd just say no.
You could.
And that's just a conversation I have out with Ceres.
But it's very hard for them to say whether that's what you're going to do. That's
Yeah.
That's a very fair
Okay.
argument they can have. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to give like some more like pathway in me leaving and going to the other call and like instantly backing up what I just said.
Yeah. I mean,
Because having an argument, if I said to NSK they don't have to play Yorick, but they do have to play Garen, I'd imagine NSK probably go, I mean, they've got to play Garen, that'd be alright. Because they had to play a bot with the draft they did.
yeah.
MSK probably, like, they would have got an advantage. It wouldn't have been the full advantage, but they've got an advantage. So I wouldn't have believed they would have been upset by that.
The issue is, and it's not an issue really, it's just my opinion on the matter. For DVA, first off, if it's written in the rules and you don't read them, that's your choice. You've opted to say, just like many of us have, is I'm assuming I know the rules. If you fuck up, you fuck up. That's what's happened. And to the point where CNC nearly got bit in the arse for that in last split, when, if you remember, Phoenix, was it Phoenix? Not Phoenix, not Paradox, but Phoenix, the team that Centurion played week 1, and you remember the whole argument about talking in all chat. Anyway, that was its own thing. But if they choose not to read the rules, they choose not to read the rules, and that's that, right? At the end of the day, if you get hard done to, you get hard done to. You're going to complain about it. If it's written
I want
down,
to put on record,
down.
DVA also apologised afterwards. It's not like there's a big battle ongoing. They were very much afterwards. Got pretty much the next day. Look, we acted out of turn. We apologise. Just want to make that clear for everyone.
Well, Arbush is a nice dude. I imagine it had something to do with that. But the point where I want to interject is did NSK act how they should have acted? And I'll leave it as that general. Just to hear your opinion. Did NSK act how they should have acted?
I mean, I don't know what you mean in that sense.
Literally just those words.
Okay, so I'm trying to break down what that means then. If they've not read that message, which we can always speculate whether they have or they haven't, or where it's been sent or it's not been sent, right? At the minute. Let's say we'll both sides. If they've not seen that message or it's not been sent, they carry on. They identify a good AD carry here, would be the one they banned. They carry on, they lock Yorick. Then all of a sudden, Champ Select dies. They're wondering what's going on. They come, they see staff in a call. They go and grab one. They say, sort it out. Glenn's going to be saying they shouldn't be a ticket. The argument would be you create a ticket, you add both captains in, and you say this is what it is, and which has been suggested afterwards, which is probably what we'd do in the future now. You live and you learn. So in that sense, yes. Now let's flip it and say they saw the message. Potentially could have. They see that they wanted Kai'Sa. They pretend not to see it. They ban Kai'Sa. That then leads into the confusion of blah blah, or they don't cancel Champ Select because it's a proxy pick. They then allow them to lock another champion, and then when they quit, say, well, we didn't see it. I'd say that's quite underhanded. But there's going to be never any way to prove one way or the other whether they've read that message, right?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm not talking about any reprimandation.
Yeah, no, yeah.
If that's the word, if not, you guys know what I mean. I'm not asking for them to be reprimanded for the way they've acted. I'm asking if the way they've acted is acceptable for the society of VL. And yours is kind of a 50-50 of yes or no. Of if they saw it, no. If they didn't see it, yeah. And this is really where my point comes in, is irrelevant of if you saw it or not. Yes, the 2 bans have come in place. I mean, I hate to say this, but maybe Plague isn't the perfect example because some of those players might want to get a cheeky advantage. But if it was Centurion versus Paradox, right, last split, and something similar happened in draft for either team, both teams would try their hardest to make it a fair situation, to the point where we just let them repick the Garen, or we just let them repick the Yorick and just say, same order, if you've not got Caitlyn, you can't pick Caitlyn, sorry, or Kai'Sa, sorry. And we will probably ban it, but this is just, we'll say that this is the solution. And historically, when teams didn't have bans, they were like, well, we want this to be a competitively integral league, and by the nature of that, they let them have the bans. Now, there were some teams that wanted to play for every advantage they could get because they've got like big egos and small confidence, but It was just basics, isn't it? That's as simple as it can get. Or there's some level of hatred there, which also happens. But
it did happen. You're right.
yeah. Do you think that the way NSK acted was right? Because in my personal opinion, they can be the bigger man there. They can say this is a genuinely competitive game. We don't want to come first because we made ourselves come first. We want to come first because we proved we should come first.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that. Everyone can turn around and say now that that series is completely irrelevant. Because we don't know what would have happened if DVA played to their fullest and drafted to their fullest. Yeah. Everyone can say that. And by that nature, I'll re-ask the question, do you think that NSK acted in the way they should have acted?
Hypothetical world, they'd be the bigger man. They'd say, look, like you say, repick the Garen, not allowed the Kaiser because you haven't got it during the champ select. Blah blah blah. Hypothetically, yes. Having been in that sort of situation, where the best example I can give you is TE when we won PEX. They had the 15-minute pause. The jungler was lagging. We didn't go like full ham like on every objective we could. We definitely played to win, and we could have used our pause time or whatever, and we didn't. Because when you're in that situation, you scramble for what you can, and some people might not. Some people definitely will. I think it's wrong to judge someone morally in that regard, because based on what you think's the right thing to do, compared to if Ceres thinks they've picked Garen, they're now going back or whatever, and he thinks that living by the rules is the right thing to do. That's not for us to judge if that's right or wrong. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
and I understand you can't change those rules. That's just not possible.
And it's like they messed up. They broke the rules. Now, most of us can probably believe they didn't know the rule was there because they've not read it.
Yeah.
But is that NSK's fault?
No, of course it's not.
So then why do NSK get punished for taking advantage of the bans?
I didn't say they should get punished, though.
No, not punished, but punish in the sense that
why should they be the bigger man is what we're saying.
Yeah.
And of the same nature of if every other conversation we've had to do with ban is you should respect the community.
Yeah.
And if you respect the community, you respect that either Nikki just fucked up because she didn't know what the fuck she was doing, or she just didn't have the champion, and that happened. And it becomes a level of respect, which is, I think, why the only times it doesn't happen is when teams do want to get every advantage they can to win because of the lack of respect for the community, or they just don't like the other person. I think there was a time with, like, one of the teams I was on VGR, I don't know if it was Ike, fucking Pro,
it was Ike,
WSL.
It was TE who wouldn't give the bans.
There was a whole thing with Ike and TE, but there's a perfect example of these teams not liking each other, so not giving it.
Yeah.
There's obviously, but then it's a lack of respect. And I would say NSKA showed a lack of respect to DVA and arguably the entirety of the VL community by not redoing that draft. And I don't disagree with how it ended.
Do you think they would have let them repick if they just instantly quit? Said there was an issue, we wanted Kaiser? And then they say, well, not Kaiser, but a champion you have?
I don't... I'd find it difficult to believe that they wouldn't have tried to find an advantage.
Maybe. But the point I'm making here is that NSK showed their hand with the bans.
With only one ban, by the way.
I mean, the ban the AD carry, which
is a 50-50 of a ban because you don't know whether they saw it or not. But it's
if they've not sent that message till after that ban, then they've gone, right, so you don't play against Kaiser, we'll take Kaiser. You don't know that. Like, again, you're talking if they've not.
But if the message has been sent, that ban is no longer relevant and it could be anything else, so it doesn't classify as a ban. That ban is only valid as a ban if they haven't seen the message because it wasn't sent, and we could see that factually. So I'm choosing to believe that it's only
it depends.
one ban.
If that message is in client, you won't be able to see it, there's no timestamps. And even still, you're talking 30 seconds. It's possible that message got sent after the ban.
I mean, true, but
I get what you're saying. But so NSK show their hand with the bans. We don't know if DV's bans were true bans they wanted to do. I'm not saying that, like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they did purposely cheer or anything like that.
No, this is
I'm just saying, I'm just saying NSK followed the rules. They say you've used proxy picks. That's not allowed. We've shown our hand. We've shown our drafting strategy. Why are we now losing out? In a sense, why are we being punished? And I know punished, but you get what I'm saying. And I don't know. Again, I've been in the same situation. I know what we did. And I'm not saying what we did was right. I'm not saying what we did was wrong. I'm saying we acted in that nature. If at the time it's game 3 in a 1-1 series or whatever, and they've gone, this is really intense, we need this win, or now they're cheating to see our ban, right, we're not letting them have the proxy pick. We don't know. And we can say they showed a lack of respect, but we don't know what their mindset was during that pick and ban.
Ultimately, then, I think it comes down to this one question, and I ask it to everyone that watches this video. Is you are 2-2 in the final of Division 1, right? To everyone in the community, even people that didn't think they'd make it to Division 1, imagine you're in this situation. You've made it with the team, you're in this perfect team that you've always wanted to be in, you're in Division 1 against people that you don't like, right? People that you just don't, not that you didn't wish they were in the community, but you've just never got on with. You really want to prove that you're better than them. I don't know, maybe it's me versus Last and AD Carry as an example. I don't know, just you're equivalent to that situation. You're 2-2 in the final, and this situation happens. The champion select gets remade. Do you allow it to be completely fresh, start from where it was, or force them to pick the champions? That's the question I asked to the community, because I think it really tells a lot about the character. And yes, I know I'm forcing a lot of people into one direction, but I think it's a genuine question for people to think to themselves and ask about themselves, because I think it really comes to a point of the moral question of this whole situation of, do you allow that to happen? Do you allow yourself to have a chance to lose without taking the opportunity to win, just for the proof that you get it? Do you allow yourself to win when you maybe didn't deserve it? How do people view those situations? And that's the same to you, but
I've got
everybody else as well.
Like slightly different. Like I know it's not going to be the same, and this is what I did earlier on with the crime thing, but I put it in the same sort of thing where you win without maybe deserving it. So imagine you're in the World Cup final. 90th minute, you're on the wing, you cross the ball in. There's a man in the back post free. 2 people jump for the header. We don't know if the goalkeeper's going to catch it. He might do, he might not. 2 people jump for a header. The referee, this is before VAR, referee deems to be a push. The player knows that there's not a push. He's got the penalty in front of him. In his head, he's thinking, if I don't go for this header and we both miss it, back post he scores. The other team are thinking, if we miss this header, goalkeeper catches it. Does he score the penalty or does he miss it? What would you do?
If I'm taking the penalty,
yeah.
I will stop.
I'm not saying you. I think it's very difficult to believe that you do anything other than bang that top bins.
Yeah, I will start by 100% admitting, if I was a supporter of the team and not a player, or affiliated with the team in any way but a fan, I'd want him to bury that penalty home, take his dick out and rub it in the goalkeeper's face, right?
Classic.
If I was in that situation, the thing that plays a factor is the crowd and everyone that's watching. And that makes me put it in top bins. If I was to then remove that situation, so it's just, this is the most famous thing ever, but now the whole population is just 25 people, including the players and the officials.
Mm-hmm.
Then I miss it, I think. If there was a 25 people populace, and it was just those people, and it still had the same
regard,
yeah,
that's a scrim. What does NSK do?
If it's a scrim, yeah, NSK would probably let them redo it.
And I'm not trying to give justification for what NSK did. I'm not saying they did a bad thing.
No, you're giving a reason, yeah.
I'm just like, when you're in that mindset, when those things happen, what other factors are in play? Are they going, they're messing with us? Because don't forget, the next champ select, DV hovered Nunu every single pick to like troll. DV have been spamming dancers and stuff in lane. There's an underlying thing here, like, of, are they just trying to wind us up now? DV took 15-minute pauses every game. So like, it was like a 4-hour series for 3 games. So at what point is NSK like, right, they're under our skins, they're doing this to annoy us, we're not letting them have it? What other factors are in play here? And that's what I was trying to hint at with the man in the back post scoring a goal.
For me, ultimately, it's whether I'm doing it for myself or for somebody else. And unfortunately for that situation, is I'm doing it for other people, unless it's a 25-man, in which case I'm finally doing it for myself, in which case I care about the other people involved. And you can't really equivalent that in VL.
No,
unfortunately.
yeah.
But I understand your point. It's definitely valid. It's been a great conversation, Joycey. It's been an interesting stream. It turns out, but we won't end it just there because let's talk about what's coming up in VL. Let's go off the less serious topic and into the more. Let's enjoy the future of VL because content's definitely improved the split. No thanks to myself. Well done, mate.
I mean, you say it's thanks to you. I'm gonna give it myself for recruiting you. How's that sound?
Do you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm kidding, Dave. I'm kidding.
Yeah. No, to me, you helped in saying that Rock wouldn't lift his feet up, in which case I had to do it. So I'll give you that. But obviously,
I know it's right.
big thanks to Glenn and Franklin as well. The new coded weight in and champ
There's
select.
technical issues, but we're getting there. I think
It is getting there, and that's the thing. We can see a good direction for production value in VL. We'll ask again for people to start clipping stuff, even though we know people ain't gonna do it, but we
I
can
keep
hope.
spamming it, mate. You've watched the. I've got a little advertisement. I spam in the corner every like 10
Yeah,
minutes.
we've seen it. But let's talk about the future of VL. We know where this is going to end collectively because it's the last thing on the list. But if there's anything else you want to talk about what your plans are for VL, obviously we've spoken about some stuff ourselves. But if there's anything that you want to bring up now for the public to know about,
What I will say is the direction has vastly changed. The last 6 months now since when was I owner? God, that feels like a long time ago. But from initially taking over, there was initial months on like where I want to take it to the vision now. So obviously back then we merged with Focus and all that stuff. It was very much a more corporate push, and we want to go this direction. And then I'll tell you what did it. The Christmas one first off. With big thanks to like Ice, Ruben, who's now my sugar daddy in other games. Wellesley, like Peter, Sandro, people just like donating off their own backs because that opened up a whole new possibility that, and I don't expect it all the time, but that if people are going to be that generous, then it creates a new thing, right? So the initial, let's go corporate, let's create some sort of prize pool, like some sort of monetary income, not for the staff, but to go back in. And we've always been very open that anything that we bring in, we put back out, right? It's never going to be taken. I'm never going to go on a nice holiday to Tenerife or anything like that. It's always going to be put back in however way we can. And I'm hoping people see that a little bit more with prize pools. So last split, I think we gave out a total of 200 quid. Getting the merch all designed up and whatnot, and all that sort of thing. And that we're putting the money back in. Now, initially, the corporate idea was to create that pool, create that money to do that. But then that generosity creates the idea that we probably don't need to do corporate. We don't need to get Raid Shadow Legends on every screen. And, I genuinely keep thinking about contacting them, but
it would be funny to be fair. It would be funny.
I'd do a proper banner advert, I think. But like, I constantly see sponsorships for esports, and I constantly think, can I get involved with them? Can I get them in? And I like take a step back, and I'm like, VL probably doesn't need it now. Another one that I was thinking about is doing some sort of like betting website link where they do LEC, LCS bets, and then maybe having like a more lesser market, but some sort of VL betting thing. These are crazy ideas that I have, but I don't think we need the corporate thing anymore, which some people might not like, some people do like.
I mean, I will say to interject is obviously I've known you from before I even joined CL, and even when I left PwC the first time, you know, I had the strongest relationships with you and Cookie at that time. Obviously, I'll talk about this in a future podcast if anyone ever wants to care about my history and going through all the teams I've played for and people that I've met along the way. But was you and Cookie. Obviously, when I joined back, I did message Valk. That's just because I didn't have you added anywhere. It would have been you first anyway. And obviously, once you were discovered that Hunter ZX was me, reintroduced, and we've always had this kind of always a level of respect and quite often a level of friendship and a likelihood towards each other. But there was a time when you were owner when, and I know this because when you were, helping me on CNC in the back scenes a little bit, you had such ambition and such vision to make this like an incredible organization of doing all this different stuff. which obviously never ended up happening. But there's some really good ideas that obviously I wanted to try. And then I saw that same version of Joycey when you became VL owner. Of you get really inspired, you get really motivated. But I saw VL shift from where it was meant to be. Because CL Bronze and Silver had a lot of Gold 4 Smurfs that couldn't get out of Gold 4. VL was made to enable these Gold 4s to play by someone who wasn't even in that restriction. It was just for the people like Amy, for the people like myself, for everyone else in the area who was just like stuck Gold 4 at that time. And it was this level of inclusion, which is really the one word that I would symbolise VL as. And what it truly represents is the word inclusion. For me personally, is where everyone can feel involved. You know, you get weaves like Lev knocking around in one corner. You get misogynists like me in one corner. You know, you get Couchy and Solo Q just talking all this nonsense, and you get everyone in between. And inclusion's that one word. And if there was a time period when you got made owner when I just thought, oh no. And I would have made an off comment, and I might have even made a PMT. I don't remember exactly. Of just saying, I don't like this. And I've noticed ever since you've gradually come off it, and to the point where the comments that I've made have become less frequent and less frequent. And now I think it's impossible to say that this is for any kind of personal gain. Even if the personal gain was a level of pride, I don't feel like there's a level of I'm going to do this for my own pride anymore, which I think is hopefully everyone else can see from the community that the admin team aren't trying to do that. I think it's the first time that they can genuinely say that everyone in the admin team's at least trying, as incompetent as some of the members might be. Everyone's at least trying, and it's not for themselves. And I think, you know, for me personally, and hopefully for the rest of the community, big thanks for the work that you're doing. But continue on. Christmas stream, you stop wanting to be so corporate.
Yeah. So, like the original vision was never to like the inclusion stuff. It was more to like to grow, right? And to grow in a sense that we allowed more people to play. And the initial dream was to go from 4 groups, as it were, to grow those groups and have more groups. In a sense, like we'd eventually have from Iron probably like 2, probably say Iron 4, all the way up to like where we are and above. Because like somebody in RG made a comment the other month, like last month, and Ice tagged me in it, and he's saying like people with low elos can't stick to teams, and I don't think that's true. People prove me wrong, like John Joe all the time. But I think actually what the issue is the infrastructure that they're given, in that anyone can play in a team, anyone can have fun, as long as they're in a way to have fun. Like somebody in Iron is not going to have fun in a league with golds or silvers. Of course, they're just going to get stomped, and that's not fun. It needs to be competitive in that if you turn up, there's a chance you win. And that shows with like, let's say Vengeance, for example, that a lot of people are saying, oh, Vengeance aren't a great team, but they're winning. They're competitive. And I'm not saying they're going to win the division.
Well, they're not. I think they're 1 and 3 now, but
yeah,
are 1 and 2 at least.
They're at least taking games, at least winning.
Yeah.
And so the corporate thing was to be able to grow, so we get income. So when we could advertise on Twitter, we could put adverts out, we could have bigger prize pools, which could attract more people.
I think so just to sorry, I keep interjecting. I think your standpoint then was that you would rather see VL come up on national television than you would for Paxlow to have a team that he enjoyed. I think I truthfully think at that time, and you can say that's the case, but I think when you want Paxlow to have a team that he enjoyed being on, but I think it was you want to see if VL was on national television, everyone thought this in EU West, VL was a place to come to because this is how you can grow.
Which is.
But I think that's what you would have rather this European expectation compared to the little guy. And would you say that's accurate?
I wouldn't, but I can see where you come from with the opinion of it. So those that saw behind the scenes, like every sign up, I'm like super anxious. I'm always on edge because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what changes we have to make and how that's going to affect things. As I said, my vision back then was to have like 10 groups. And I said this on the original stream when we pitched it, to have groups where we just put in groups and like, right, we've got 10 going on for B, we'll split it and we'll just have A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah.
And we'll just have like a gradual like line. And I remember the first sign-ups where we didn't get many in Div A, and I was like, I was devastated because I thought, if nothing else, this entire thing would allow lower teams to have more. And obviously, the idea was to grow and have more people and have a bigger exposure, but to allow that. And
Yeah.
I still get anxious every sign up because I'm like, if now Division 4 doesn't get enough numbers, what do we do? And I'm very much aware that like the average elo in gold in Division 4 is like gold 3, 2, something like that.
2 is the limit in terms of point restriction, yeah.
And it's like,
In terms of average.
that doesn't sit well with me. And I'd love to have a Division 5. I really would, where we could have like an average of Silver 1, Silver 2, but we don't have the numbers. And I don't know, in my head, like the correlation of getting those numbers was to have more exposure.
Did you make a mistake in setting the point total before making the groups? And I know that
Yes.
sounds stupid because I was pleading for the opposite.
Yeah.
Because I was an owner, I wanted to make the academy team the best team it could be, and it ended on 24 points exactly. Ended on 24 points exactly. I was like, we've got a fucking team here, lads. Nope,
Yeah.
40-point group. And since then, my mindset has changed. And you can only apologise for obviously Hentai Haven and Centurion Academy having to go through that. In reality, Incoterm did a lot worse than us two, but there was a gap there. And obviously it's happened again, and we've spoken about this in the past. But you think that you made a mistake in forcing a point?
So we make it very clear that every sign up now, like Split 2 was a lot more seamless because we said beforehand, like with the intentions of people seeing what happened with Split 1,
Yeah.
where we will just adjust the points. Like we're going to do average, right? Most teams are around this number. That's what we'll go with. Jobs are good. And so next split, if all the Div 1 teams go to 75 points, we'd have no option but to move those points up, you know? And I'm not saying we're going to encourage that. And obviously, we put things in place to keep those numbers working. But in essence, that's what it's going to be. And I remember showing the bell curve graph and saying, this is player base. As it moves, we'll move stuff.
I saw the twinkle in your eye when you said the words bell curve then. It's like nostalgia, how much you enjoyed saying that.
Because, like, even back then, like, even now, that in my head still feels like a logical way of dealing with it. That this is our player base, so these groups should be the most busy ones, these should be the lessers, but they should still have numbers.
But you forget Quee players on Plague, and you forget Trigger players
Exactly.
on Centurion, and that
And
upsets
this
everything.
is the thing. So, yes, with the points totals, and no. So the no, because it allowed teams to form and aim, have an aim, like we're going to go for this group. And we did sort of say, oh, the preliminary numbers, but I don't think people understood what we meant by it. As in, like, if Group A gets 2 teams, we're crashing it.
Yeah.
So, and then Split 2 seems to be people got, that's what we'd have done. And to the point where you now have people like Ice on the bench saying, I'd have rather if that happened. And it's like, that's interesting because 6 months ago, they'd have hated it. And like people went through it. And I like, my heart went out to you and Hentai Haven because you had to go through those divisions or groups when it was with lower points totals than other people, and you were at a disadvantage. And I know we gave you like a week to do it, but a week to recruit someone, do scrims, tryouts. I've been on teams, I'm not daft.
It's not even that, because we've kept a very similar roster and done the same thing again. But and I don't know how other people do it, but they do. I mean, there's some teams that don't, some teams that do, but I couldn't kick anyone in Centurion Academy. I mean, I'm at the point now where we're 0 and 2, and it's like, let's be honest, with the way that Div 4 is growing, Div 4 is becoming such a strong league now that we can't compete. It's obvious. We're going to need to either disband, change multiple people, or there needs to be a Div 5. Like, it's not leagues. I think it's obvious. Both our games have been on stream. We got outclassed by Claytorian's Academy. We got outclassed by Incoterm. Not even just me versus Ice, me versus Bauer, which is what it was hyped up to be, but on a genuine player versus player, mechanical, micro, and macro understanding. We know in ourselves the communication issues we've got. There's going to need to be something that changes, whether that's the league changing it for us and you making a Div 5, or you changing the restrictions of Div 4. I was disappointed when you didn't reduce the Div 4 cap to 36, but that's something that's been said, and you've said that you've regretted not at least doing something about that, but that's fair enough. So something's going to need to change. I forgot the original point now. Fuck. I hate when I do this. I go on a tangent and I forget originally what I was talking about.
Now, you're saying that you've done it again with a low points total.
Yeah, and I don't get how people kick it. Because, like, there's times when, and I'll use Nav as an example, because I could use anyone, I could even use myself, where we've played a scrim or we've played a game, and they've just completely just inted for no reason whatsoever. And it's like, man, come on. Or maybe there's times when someone, I'll stop using names, when someone just won't communicate something that we've asked them to communicate a million times, and it's just like, man, come on. And I've gotten frustrated with every single person on Centurion Academy. Even back when Aaron, Exorcist, was there, I got frustrated with him all the time. Somther, Nav, Franklin, and Serenica, and even when Mad Skills filled in, I got frustrated with all of them. And I've done a lot of one-on-one sessions with all of them. I've tried my best to make them all better. Granted, I'm not good enough to be a coach in the first place, but I've tried. But even after all that, I know their weaknesses, and I know that, quite frankly, if we were to replace any of them with someone better, it could dramatically change the whole team dynamic, including myself. If we had a jungler that was like Bauer instead of myself, it would completely change in Joyre Academy. Incaturn turned 0-4 last split, had exactly the same roster but put Bauer in jungle instead, and now they're unbeaten in terms of series wins. But yeah, I just don't know how someone could kick them. So when you did give us that week to say change,
I get it.
It's not even an option.
That's what I mean. Like, I get
Psych-acting to adopt. You just can't do it.
I get that. Like, we gave you an entire time. I just, one, it wasn't long enough, and like you say, two, you're not going to change your roster. But then, and I think you guys appreciate it. Rani was really good with it. Like, I think you could see it from our point of view that our hands are tied.
Yeah, we could, yeah.
And like that's the difference where this split, where we probably could have just said points are slightly lower. Next week probably will. I'll probably forget, and you have to remind me. I'm not lying. Like,
no,
I remember
how you
said it. I remember saying like we should have reduced it, but I can't remember when I said it. So close to time, remind me. Because it's something we probably will do. But I don't know. One of the things I kind of am blessed with is that I'm not great at super coming up with loads of ideas and blah blah blah, but I am quite good at when someone gives me an idea, running with it and putting it in play. And I've always been very open that lots of things that happen in VL are not my ideas.
Yeah.
The points, Rock came up with them. Even when I pitched it, I think at the time I said it, and Rock was like, "That's my idea." I was like, "Oh yeah, I know." But I'm not afraid to say that's a really good idea. We'll use it. Like, you were the content, play it on stream. That wasn't my idea. That was your idea. Doing the analyst desk, like, I had a good conversation.
No. You put content on stream was your idea, actually, not mine. Everything else was my idea, but content on stream was your idea.
The analyst desk was one of the other things I remember pitching to John Joe, because he was like, "I've got too many casters. What do I do?" And I said, "Well, get them an analyst desk. Get 2 extra casters. Get them to do something before the stream." But like everything else with the content, it's all been you. Like the video, the hype video, someone else suggested it. I was gonna make it. I asked for clips. Marco went and made one off his own back without telling him, and just he sent me one day. Now we have like a prelude video we can do.
It's fucking good, Marco. Well done.
It is. It's been nice. It's been updated, so it's got the new teams in.
We need to do an MVP of the split for just community, because Marco fucking deserves some level of recommendation.
Well, when we did the merch, like obviously you can have sponsors and stuff on, and you've got Kraken on the sleeves. The first person I said was, "Marco, what do you want me to plug? Do you want your name? What do you want on there?"
Yeah.
Because you do so much, it's only right. And I don't know, that guy, like, he's unbelievable levels of dedication, because he doesn't care for recognition. Like, we say thank you, we say, "Oh, we'll like give him love hearts," and it's enough. And I always want to do more, like I really do, but then he just always says no. But that guy, crazy.
This is a long podcast, but sorry, Joycey, just gonna carry on. There's too many tangents and there's too many points. I could talk to you for 24 hours, but I need to talk about Marco, because Centurion Academy in the Shell 2, fuck me, it's a throwback. We had a really good roster.
I was talking about this last week. I don't know who I remember talking about this.
We had Mersh top, Spring jungle, Nav mid, Mady carry, and Marco San support. And fuck me, were we good. We lost sometimes to Centurion, and that was mainly my fault, because I was over communicative as an AD carry. But you look at what those players have done since, it says itself. Nav's the only exception, but Nav showed himself in that tournament himself. And I will still say to this day that Marco is the best support I've ever played with. I've played with Bram, who's arguably the best. I've played with Cradin, played with Kui, I've played with all the most regarded. I've played with Rock, played with Remix. I've played with all the most regarded supports in VL, and I'll still say to this day Marco was the best I've ever played with, because he had this full level of, I don't want to say submissiveness, but it was like, I will do everything you want me to do, and then everything you've not asked me to do as well.
Yeah.
And his whole personality is that. And he's so underrated in the community and as a player. And I feel bad for the way that it ended at Centurion Academy, because I know for a fact, and Byron will disagree with this, but I know for a fact the Centurion Academy will have beaten 100 Cobra if Marco San was there. They'll disagree, but I know for a fact, because, no offense to Pride Bomb, but he fucking ran it down. He really did. But Marco was great. And I feel sorry for the way that it ended. But we've seemed to be on decent terms
Was that the
since.
roster with Remix? Killex?
No, Killex filled in on Shell 1 for Centurion.
Right, okay.
He went AD carry, didn't build Infinity Edge, and just completely ran it down. Then
And
claimed...
then I did loads of memes and got a warning, I remember.
Yeah, then claimed he did it on purpose because he didn't want to win as a Smurf, because he knew Centurion would win, when in actual fact he just didn't know how to play AD carry. And everyone's realised that since, despite Smurfing, he wasn't always that good. But yeah, I needed to say that about Marco, because I do feel sorry for the way that it ended.
MVP.
But MVP indeed. That's what's coming for the content. If anyone's got any ideas, we'll happily move them forward. Bit by bit, we're going to make the stream better and better and better. But there's other things that happen, such as Christmas, when Ice, Wellesley, and Trelulu donated a lot of money. There's another time people donated a lot of money, and it's evident in some of our haircuts.
Mine's going back.
It really has. Yours has done really well.
Are people going to shout me for this because of lockdown? But I had one of my friends as a hairdresser, and I went and had the trims shaved down because it was like just poof out.
Yeah.
I had it trimmed, so I've actually had a haircut since that.
I do it myself, and it's very obvious. If I turn to this side, you can see where I've done it there.
That's a good fade, Dave.
I know, but if you look at the back, it's not too bad. The line's not too bad.
I'm imagining the weed carry on picture. Oh my
god. but yeah, the second pub quiz wasn't very good because you forced it. It was a lot of fun. We forced it, but we've had some time now, and I think people are ready to let loose a little bit. Everyone's on a little bit edge. There's been a couple of bans. There's been a bit of drama. There's been some games. People just need to get drunk, and Rock needs to get his cock out again. So, Joycey, what's going on?
Well, with that, I mean, what do I do? We're going to do the pub quiz. Pub quiz the third, pub quiz the final, probably. I think like it's a trilogy. We've ended it nicely. On that, pub quiz 2 it's just meant to be like an extra little bit. It was always going to be a little bit more quiet. There's no forfeits and stuff. But we're bringing it back in a hardstyle way. Pub quiz 1, obviously very, very famous for Bald Ski and Bald Trigger. Also, get your tits up for the lads. We carry on. Lots of memes was born out of Pub Quiz 1. Pub Quiz 2 was a lot quieter. Also, people left VL from Pub Quiz 1. Skylar. Pub Quiz 2 was a lot more subdued because obviously people weren't getting as drunk. It was a week after. Pub Quiz 3, we're going for it, I think. So I've been in touch with some people in the community. We're still looking for a few extras, but some of the forfeits, we've got people dyeing hair, people eating hot chilies, some waxing going on. Rock's going to make some sort of meme video for everyone to meme on for the next 3 millennia. And then I think the max donation goal is, if we get a certain amount, I haven't decided the number yet, going to have the VL logo tattooed on me somewhere. So that'll be pretty fun.
But somewhere being the key point. We'll see how that goes, but somewhere. The more money, the better is all I'm saying, lads. there's a lot of skin a lot of canvas to work on there.
Remember, guys, I'm a teacher, so nothing on show, like arms and face, but we'll see. 29th of May is what we're aiming for, which is like the last Friday of May, which seems like a nice, hopefully Ice and Ruben's been paid kind of date. Lockdown's been good to everyone in terms of not spending money, so getting a little outlet to spend it on. We'll have memes. We're going to crowd and host in it. We'll see what else we can do. If you've got memes, send them in my inbox. Start putting it together.
Or punishments, forfeits that you'll do if you reach a certain amount.
Absolutely.
As much as we can do for that. Because let's make this one bigger than number 1. The reason that, let's be honest, the
Yeah,
reason that
he's
number
so-
two
yeah,
didn't, the reason that number two didn't go so well was because I wasn't there. Let's be fucking
he
honest with
did bang the shoe there, and Rock was like, "I'm not drinking because I exposed myself last week."
it.
Yeah, there's also I don't know if to leak this.
Go
How
on,
much did he annoy me last night? I feel like it was a lot. I feel like I might
do it, no
ruin
balls.
friendships.
Do it.
Oh, okay, so not even true. He's saying it in the chat. Okay, so fuck it, why not? Rock may have done further things in the staff rooms that you can't see, and leaked things that he shouldn't have leaked. So, girlfriend nudes maybe accidentally got leaked,
Fucking hell, Rock.
and then he removed them. But obviously we have audit logs and stuff. He didn't realize they were in there for a while. So was that. He's put it in the chat. Joycey question mark. Yeah, don't fucking question my Vlad gameplay on Earth. Fucking wanker. So,
Oh man, Rock's brilliant. Rock's brilliant. But yeah,
it's the pub is the third, eh?
let's make Pub Quiz the third the best it can be. Let's get our team chats rolling. Hopefully the Zantastic Four can make a return because we know that was the best fucking team group. Me,
Just
Wave,
don't
and
try and
Kelly and
recruit
Kiss.
Rocket.
Nah, Rock wasn't in my group. We just went around and popped off.
I mean, like to Centurion.
Oh we'll do the best we can. Centurion Academy's in need of some star quality players. So I'm sure Rock can come in and replace me.
He was diamond in preseason though.
What are you saying?
He was diamond in preseason.
That's what everyone's going to say, innit? Let's get them all out there just in time. Joycey, it's been an absolute pleasure. We could honestly talk about everything for another 24 hours, but we'll not. I'll finish this bottle of wine and then go to work tomorrow because it is only a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Thank
Carry
you.
on, mate.
Thank you. Yeah, we carry on. Thank you guys for watching. Who has watched on stream? My bad. VL2, some quality content. I've always wanted content to be on stream. Did you not know that, Joycey? It's about time. But I will download this and then put it on the Centurion YouTube channel as well. If you guys want to be on the podcast, there'll be a form that comes in content when this gets downloaded and uploaded. So play on there. If you've got any suggestions for the pub quiz, message Joycey. And if you've got anything else that you want to talk about or discuss, that's what VL Generals chat for. And we'll have a nice long debate where I become a bark with no bite and then whimper afterwards. I'm only joking. Joycey, thanks for coming on. Thanks everyone for watching. It's been Joycey, it's been Xtrigger, it's been the Letter It Podcast. Over and out. Peace.